Okay, we are live. We are recording. Telephone lines are good. You're good to go.
Thank you, Matthew. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Architectural Review Board meeting of September 23, 2021. I'd like to open the meeting with the approval for the minutes from our last meeting, which was September 9th, 2021. Can I get a second on that, Esperanza?
Second.
All in favor, board?
Aye.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'd like to start with our first classification, which is changed to commercial BMC EH Holdings LLC, tax map number 197-145, 81 Wainscott Northwest Road in Wainscott. And Matt, I believe we're looking for Lori Wilshire or someone from Land Planning Services.
Okay, I do have a bunch of people on in the waiting room here, but I do not see Lori's name.
You might see Jean Galante or Land Planning.
I see Jean's iPhone, so let me see if that's it.
Okay, if not, Land Planning's business last four digits is 8500.
Okay, and I do not have that phone number in my sites.
Okay.
I'm here for Lori. It's Jean Galante.
Hey, Jane, how are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm going to let Esperanza read into the record what the application is for, and we can get into it.
Thank you. The application is for, as we said, changes to commercial, proposed 2-inch by 10-inch cedar horizontal boards to run perimeter walls, 1.5-inch overhang. Proposed color modification to existing 1-inch by 6-inch vertical cedar siding to be painted white. Proposed changes to existing roof line and new cedar on roof will be left natural to weather. So those are all the proposed changes for this little building on the corner of Montauk Highway and Wainscott Northwest.
Okay. What I'd like to do first is see if, Jean, is there anybody else that's on the call with you?
I know Alex Elizaj had wanted to, I think that's the main purpose, is for him to speak to you guys, and Sherry, I believe, also.
Okay, so Matt, we can look for them. And you know what, Esperanza, once they're all in and we've asked them to identify themselves, if you could then sort of bring everyone up to date on, where we were, where we're at, and then we can get into the current situation.
Okay, I believe the other two people are just signed on.
Great.
Hello. I think we're waiting for audio on.
Yeah. Well, there's Ann and there's Alex.
Okay, Alex does not have audio.
Jean, can you maybe text Alex and ask him to unmute himself?
Lish, are you here?
There's Jean.
Yep.
Hi, Jean.
Let me just see if someone else is in the office. Nope.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to connect, but it's not working. Perhaps he can sign out and go back in.
I'm just trying to email him right now to see if he could do that.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to, but it's not working.
Lish, did you hear that? Look in the phone log.
Actually, stand by. I do have a BMC on the phone line, so give me a second.
That would be it.
And
Can you hear me?
there we go.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, are we good?
Okay, if I may ask, whoever's got a TV or some other device on, I'm hearing an echo of this meeting right now. If they can please shut that off or mute it, that would be great. Okay.
Are we good?
Alex, can you say hello?
I'm on. Hi, this is Alex Alezai from BMC. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome, Jean. Welcome, Ann. All right. Esperanza is going to just, for the viewers watching and everyone, to just bring us up to date up until last meeting that we had on the 9th.
Sure. Well, very quickly, this application has been before us a handful of times. The board has had concerns about the color choice of the siding. I believe we've had various discussions about the vertical siding perhaps remaining the natural color instead of the painted white. And there was also in the past, which was agreed to, the windows that are triangulated on the east side of the building are going to remain. And so that overhang remains. The rest of the building has no overhang. And then there would be this vertical sort of roof side on this currently mansard style roof. That would be the horizontal board in a cedar, what left to weather naturally. In the last meeting, there were 4 new elevations or color renderings, and we couldn't quite tell if the color had been sort of changed slightly to be a little more subdued, if it was sort of more of a pickling rather than a true white. And I believe what we had asked at that time with Lori was if the applicant would consider reconsider the siding and try power washing the siding in order to keep it in the natural finish. And I think that brings us up. Betsy, do you have anything else? If I'm forgetting anything?
No. I just want to thank Lori and her group for working hard to, continually to get us updated color renderings so that we could, really get a better idea about this, because at one point, maybe it was 2 meetings ago or a month ago, the black trim around the window wasn't really, sort of designated properly. There was a lot of questions. So I think we're kind of over the hump with that.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is ask Esperanza to keep going a little bit, because she's been doing some more study. And this way, let's put that out there now, and then we can have Alex respond to not only what's taken place in the past, but also what you might want to recommend today, Esperanza.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've really been wrestling with this commercial district of Wainscott. Wainscott is called the gateway to East Hampton. And so the idea has, with the town comprehensive plan, has been to improve the visual quality of this commercial district, improving the appearance and the functionality. And here we have an opportunity to definitely improve the appearance of this building with your help. And I've been really wrestling with the white on that building, because I think it will detract from the building. I don't think it will improve it. I think it will make it stand out in a way that becomes sort of a white elephant. And the redesign of the roof, in theory, I like, but as I was looking at it again, and I revisited this even just this morning, and looking at the renderings, I'm seeing it as a very sort of the fact that it would lack the overhang, I think, would really expose not only the people occupying the offices inside, but anybody visiting the office would not have an overhang that would sort of protect from the elements, and it makes it more, even especially in the front, kind of demarcates the entrances. I think that the overhang kind of has some advantages. So I was grateful for Anne to be here today, because I think it would be nice to have it'd be good to have a discussion about, I don't know, another solution if possible to this.
I
Just
think
a tweak.
I just want to say this. I think, in the earlier conversations, the sort of pitched mansard roof, you want the new owner, Alex, wanted to get away from that look and have it more streamlined. But since we're now looking at it being, maintaining the overhang on the side, that the east side as well as the back, it almost looks imbalanced, the front and the west side is flat, and then the back and the other isn't. And Esperanza, you want to ask Kyle to, or Kyle to pull up some of the pictures that Esperanza sent today? Esperanza, you said something to me in one of your emails today that I thought really hit it on the head. Let me see if I can pull that out and just translate that to Anne today. What you were saying, it was just a quick, about tweaking this in a way that would be, what did you say?
Well, I don't recall. If you can find it, that'd be great. I think that we all find these mansard style roofs. Well, that actually, can you go back to the previous one, Kyle, for a moment? If you look at the building, this is the building in the back, and it has really primarily the same style and all the coloring and everything else. And, I agree that asphalt roofing is not ideal. If you swapped out that roofing for, I don't know, the popular standing seam metal roof, that might look really sharp. So I'm just trying to explore different ideas for the front building and not have it be, because it's part of this square, I know it's a different property, but not have it sort of be such a dissonant element on this corner. And I think Anne had her hand up before. Maybe she could say something.
Hi, yeah. Is it okay to speak? Or?
Yeah, please. Thanks, Anne.
Okay, so, well, one thing is that we were sort of modeling it a bit after Serena and Lily building, which I had understood that everybody was pretty happy with. So, I'm not getting that why we're having to redesign the wheel in this fashion, but I hear what you're saying, and bringing that back building into the mix is just like a bit of a mind blower. And also, you can see the picture we're looking at, the round shape is under an overhang, but the overhang doesn't come out equally from the face of the building in all instances. And I think that that's, kind of speaks to what we're doing in front. And I think the fact that it would be imbalanced because of the roof line is not a bad thing in my mind, design wise. And I think if we're talking about trying to keep the roof, I'm not really understanding that if the aim is to make things look better, then I don't know why we would want to do that. I mean, I think the person who's next going to buy this building or fix this building up is going to probably, want to change its some of the things about it. And as to the color of the siding, yeah, again, the Serena and Lily building, I guess we would be willing to, power wash it and see what it looks like, but there's no desire to keep it natural wood. And as this picture is a good example of why we wouldn't want to either. That's not a great looking situation there. And maybe, but the pickling idea could be something that maybe Alex would consider.
Right. Well, both of the buildings have a dark stain on it, and this is just some of it's, weathered and it hadn't been maintained.
Right, yeah.
Right. And I just think Esperanza's point is that without having any kind of, like overhang, and maybe it's not the mansard roof, maybe it's some kind of like sort of built-in little awning, just to give it some kind of personality. I think if you take a look, Kyle, can you pull up the photograph of Serena and Lily? If you look at Serena and Lily, yeah, you can compare the colorations and maybe the overall feeling, but it's a completely different building. Yours is a very small, petite building. This is expansive, and it's, it has the big garage windows. It has the overhang over the door, and then there's, the section and the garages. It presents differently.
Well, I mean, but I could make the argument that if I were to look at this picture and put my hand over the left side with the awning, that it's very similar to our building with dark metal windows and a
Yeah.
No, it is. But what I'm saying is that in context, this is a much broader building. This isn't
yes,
with triangular windows on one side, and you know what I mean. Like there's more of a flow to this, and by the pure fact that it's larger, right?
Right, but I don't think that we were ever trying to recreate it to the
Right.
Yeah.
But I would point out that this does have an awning over the entryway, which is sort of what I'm not suggesting that you keep the mansard roof. I'm just suggesting that when I look at the rendering and when I'm at the site, as it is now, there's an overhang. It provides sort of a protection from sun. I even took a picture. There was a rolling, like a shade on the exterior of the building on the west side, which would indicate to me either that they were just trying to advertise their product, or more to the point, they were trying to protect themselves from like intense afternoon sun, because these are big windows. So I'm just suggesting that for practical, functional purposes, you might reconsider the overhang.
Sorry to interrupt. Is it possible to put the picture of the rendering of our building up just to take a look at that idea? Because I'm not averse to awnings. If I don't know how Alex feels about that.
Yeah. One of the things is that, the two buildings are, while they're similar shapes, they're different proportions of stuff. And it's sort of hard to, make a small building look like another building, have that same feel. And this has started to, do that, but it just is, there was like the paint itself was maybe too opaque, and having something more, vital for it. I've always had the feeling that I'd like to see a little bit of overhang on this, and the sign, the so-called horizontal roof, maybe could come out a little bit, still maintain its vertical shape, but it would just come out maybe only on the sides like that one is, or maybe it come out a little bit. That all of a sudden, I think, would give the building a sense of finishedness that I think that people are uneasy about. Something like that, just bring it out a foot, whatever, and half of what the mansard is. We don't want a mansard because that made kind of it just wasn't so nice. Yeah.
Right.
I don't have a problem with adding back in a overhang of a foot on the two sides.
But the other thing, Ann, that will afford you is some soffit lighting underneath the overhang that would, shine downward, so you wouldn't feel the need to have goosenecks or, sconces or things of that nature, similar to the way it is now when Esperanza was showing us her pictures that she took from standing underneath it. You have the ability then to have those, that lighting element.
Yeah, but we would still, I don't know why it's left off of this picture, but we still would want some slender horizontal black fixture above there, because, we need to light?
I'm not talking about the lighting. I'm talking
Okay.
about lighting coming down to the door, you know, in the evening, in the winter, if he's going to be open, you know, in the later months when it's dark at 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
So by having this having all sides come out, you have it on the, like I said, the back side and the east side, but you can bring it out on the front and also, and it will give an overhang for elements and maybe a little sun restriction, as well as the opportunity for some soffit lighting.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that seems fine to me. I'm not sure if Alex wants to weigh in. Is he able to speak? Because I don't think he was.
Sure, he can. Excuse me.
I mean,
Here, you go ahead. Come on.
Hi, everybody. It's Alex.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Awesome. Thanks. Yes, thank you for having me on. I truly appreciate it. I wanted to first say thanks for everyone's time and effort. I'm not sure that anyone wanted to spend or would be required to spend this much time on a project like this, but I thought it would be important for me to just kind of intervene and help better try to either explain our vision, ultimately what we're trying to do, and at this point I feel that some sort of compromise to I guess fast track the process in terms of where we are, where we started. Is it possible, or is it okay that I can approach, one thing at a time here, or are we just trying to figure all this out in, various moving parts? Because I feel
Alex,
that I think
Alex, you can present what you'd like to present in the way you'd like to present it. We're listening.
Awesome. I appreciate that. First and foremost, in terms of what the place looks like now, I'm going to throw out a funny right now, but it reminds me of a really, really dated Pizza Hut, essentially. The way the overhang is on the property does not look elegant. It looks really outdated. The shingles are obviously outdated. But the siding of the property also, I personally feel, and once again, this is just my personal opinion, doesn't really go with what, the gateway to East Hampton really looks like. So just considering the neighbor that's actually on Montauk Highway, which is the bagel shop across the street, versus the property in the backdrop in the background, is more reflective of, I think, a sense of either style or colors that more coincide with what you see along East Hampton, or rather Montauk Highway, and the modernization of a lot of those buildings that are being either updated or continue to be updated truly reflect more of a beachy feel. I feel that brighter colors bring out, a better sense of what, the neighborhood would or should look like maybe. I feel brighter colors are more attractive than darker colors. But once again, that's just my opinion. In terms of the facade of the building, I'm happy to keep the horizontal, the vertical boards there. I think the coloring of the vertical boards are not very attractive and are very outdated in the sense that it really wouldn't allow us to kind of keep in line with the colors that the building, or the colors that we anticipate the building to have. White and grays go very, very well together. The windows, we're not changing any of the windows. The windows are already there. The windows have black trim, other than maybe spray painting them, so this way they're not as dated as they look, or in terms of the coloring. Other than that, there's not much that's going to change about the windows. The windows are already there. The shades, in terms of...
Alex, excuse me for 1 minute, please. I just want to clear things up before you move on. We weren't suggesting you keep the old dark stain. In our last meeting, we were suggesting that you power wash that dark stain completely off. You're going to need to do that anyway to either stain it white or paint it a color. And we were saying, take a look at the natural cedar once you have all that old stain off, and maybe flip it where the roof becomes white and this stays natural. It was just a suggestion the board was
Sure.
putting out there. It's one thing to consider. No one, I don't think, ever said anything about spray painting or changing the black trim on the window. So I just wanted to clear that up, okay?
But also,
Yeah, I just took notes from my interactions with Ann and Lori, and I tried to write everything down as best as I could understand, which is why I felt the need for me to, be a part of this conversation at this point. So I'm just kind of addressing what I thought, or what talking points or questions or, things that needed to be addressed more than anything else. I'm a resident of East Hampton. I don't live too far away from this property. And, I've done renovations and construction projects. Cedar is very, very difficult to, not necessarily maintain, but, to change a color would require not just a power washing, but would require it to be painted. Cedar essentially at the end of the day, and there's not much that can change after cedar's been painted other than the natural look of, or trying to achieve the natural look of the, of the cedar when it was installed.
I'm just going to interrupt one moment. Kyle, could you look for the pictures? I sent you some reference pictures of some siding that was recently power washed at another.
Alex, can I just ask you specifically, since we kind of gotten someplace with two things, the color of the exterior siding and the overhang on the roof. I'm wondering, would you be amenable to power washing it and see how it looks, and then as a next step to stain it with a full body white stain so that it will have the appearance of white, but it will still have some of the play of the wood through the stain? Is that something
I'm absolutely happy to do that. I've done it before. I know ultimately more or less what it should look like, but I'm happy to show it as a sample of what it could look like. I'm happy to do that. Absolutely, of course.
Okay. And on this, the getting back to the overhang for a moment, they're suggesting that to pull out by 1 foot back out the as it is now in our drawings, but pull it out from the face of the building a foot on the two sides, the front and the left side, and anywhere else that occurs, to
whatever
give us the opportunity to put some down lighting in there, which is a good idea, and they feel it might be more balanced looking overall.
Well, and to Ann's point, let me just say this. It costs a lot less to do another photorealistic rendering of what that would look like. And you could even do it with the natural, like this is Esperanza showing where the dark stain is on this where the light fixture is. But if you look down underneath where they power washed it.
No, Betsy, correction. Underneath those lighter boards are new boards. And that's a point of reference and comparison. And the rest of it above where the lamp is power washed.
Okay. Yeah.
But the original color of this looked more like the building that we are talking about now.
So, but I'm confused. You mentioned, Alex, that you're happy to keep the vertical cedar, but I don't think anybody here said to keep it. Well, would you have a different material completely?
Honestly,
or did I
just to be clear here. No, it's fine. I'm happy to explain. To be quite frank, this entire process has been lengthy for me. Even acquiring the property was a very lengthy process because of an estate and so on and so forth. It's been over a year for me, quite frankly, just to be able to get to this point with the folks that are on this call. My intention was to really just clean up the property, give it some modernization, make it look as best possible, without really going into making that many dramatic changes, quite frankly. Other than making the roof line or the fascia of the roof line flush and wrapping around the building, I'm happy with the foot overhang. I think that's perfectly fine. It actually just simply means the fascia from the top of the corners of the roof line just means it just drops straight down. So when I did the measurement, which is what I considered previously, so to that point, I couldn't agree with you more. When you drop the roof line from the corners, it actually comes out about a foot. So it's actually perfect. It just won't have that pitch. It'll be a flush fascia all around the building, which I think is going to look great because even with the hi-hats above, will give the walkway or the sidewalk area some great lighting, including the windows. So I think that's a fantastic idea, and that's what I originally thought of. It just once again I wasn't sure because the there were so many different moving parts and so many opinions on what to do and what we were submitting that I felt that we were just complying with the request of the board more than anything else versus to try to nail away what I think we're all comfortable with at this point. But that's perfect for me. A foot out, a bit of an overhang is perfectly fine because it avoids any awnings or any additional, structural or, any sort of fixtures and awnings that would be needed, quite frankly. And, the main entries of Point are, aside from the two doors, which are going to be, ultimately reserved for clients or folks coming to visit, generally, I think the employees or anybody that I have there, including myself, will probably enter in through the back because those are 3 parking spaces to the left side and the rear.
Okay.
All right.
This is part of the process. This is what we get paid the big bucks to do, Alex.
Big
The
I
other
love that
thing,
idea. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the other thing I just wanted to point out to you, and you might not be aware of, so you don't think that we're just doing this to be, contrary. Hampton plans. If there were to be any chain-like stores that have a specific look to them, that they would be required under our code or our, what would you call it, our comprehensive plan to alter their appearance to fit in with the rural character of our town. So I know that you have like in your mind eye, that you want all your properties to, it's a brand. You want it all to be recognizable, and we understand that. But what we do, and it wasn't specifically to this, but I'm just saying overall, is what we do is help the client or the applicant, sort of get this to the point where we're all going to be very proud of the job that we did, and you're going to be very happy with your commercial building. Okay, so I just wanted to say that up front.
I appreciate that. And I got to tell you something, and it goes without saying. I think anything that, is there now is going to look better than what it is now. But, once I put this together, I think it's going to look absolutely fantastic. It'll be clean. There won't be a lot of clutter. The grass area will obviously be seeded. It will be very, very well maintained. I'm very anal with maintenance. And even if it comes to power washing the sidewalks and ensuring there's not a one pebble on the street versus in the driveway is something I'm ultimately going to do regardless. But I think that in terms of, the size of the structure we're talking about, it's nominal in comparison to a lot of the other structures around the surrounding area. But I think it would be better suited for brighter, lighter colors, to kind of coincide with what Montauk Highway already looks like or what the rest of Montauk Highway may look like, in the years to come. It's just brighter colors just bring out the beauty in buildings, I feel like. And I feel like, once again, it'll enhance that corner, but, it'll also enhance the gateway to East Hampton. And hopefully, at the end of all this, I want you to be just as happy as I think I'll be. But I think in terms of what we've presented,
Alex, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you. I think that what we had, our initial concern was like the big super white paint. I think now that you're looking to staining it and we're sort of expanding the roof line but keeping, the vertical, I think that we're getting closer and closer to this. So I guess my question for Anne is, would you be willing to have new renderings done with what we suggested today and submitted so the board could have them in their file so that if the board were to approve this, we would be able to, reference the files that were submitted?
Absolutely. So I'm taking notes. So we're going to extend the roof line so there's an overhang. I'm perfectly okay with that. I think the white and gray go very, very well together. And not that it's going to be painted. I think the horizontal boards are going to have more of a natural finish regardless in terms of the type of material that we use. So paint isn't necessarily what I'm thinking versus, a stain that will be absorbed by the wood naturally. And, it will obviously also, retain its look over time. Not to mention the fact that I'm going to end up maintaining the materials, and whether it's power washing or doing treatments every 2 to 3 years, I'm totally okay with all of that. But I just feel that the colors in itself.
Please, excuse me. Let's
We got
go
it.
to
We got it.
the task at hand, okay? So the other thing, Jean, we're going to need the color of the stain that they're looking to do on the roof, as well as the photorealistic drawings with what we've discussed today. And I think unless anybody has a problem, we would like to see it with this sort of pickling or very light.
Yeah, and to that point, the pickling or this transparent stain, I don't think it would show up like it is on the rendering, because the verticals are also going to be stained, and they won't have that perfect pencil line blackness in between each one. They would look more like a uniform facade rather than a bunch of sticks put together,
Right.
And the way this is with the way the rendering is with the different boards being slightly different colors is just right. That's what you're talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So are we all in agreement with that as drawn?
I want to be absolutely clear. So we're considering the vertical siding to have the pickling, but then the roof boards would still be natural cedar weathered.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Alex said
Yes,
something.
yes, they're no color, no color, no color,
Right,
no color.
because I
Natural
heard
weather.
someone say a stain for that, so I wanted to be clear that
Alex
remains.
said he was going to stain the boards a natural color, so I would need to know what we would need to know.
But let's drop that, because we're not doing that, and it was just something that was said, and it's not part of what we're agreeing to do here. Can you keep going, please?
So that was just my only question, is that would just be a weathered gray for the horizontal boards, and then the vertical siding would be the pickling, the sort of pickled white buff color.
Right.
Okay.
And underneath the overhangs, would that be natural wood as well?
You mean the soft?
Underneath
Painted wood.
The soffits.
The soffit, I think we would probably leave the same material as the top and just let it weather as well.
Well, sometimes people like to paint it, so if you wanted to stain it, that would have to be just notified on the plans, okay?
Okay. So
I
things that are
don't have people do extra work, but I just want to say if I'm respecting Alex's, request to kind of, put a little fire under this. If you want to, based on the color photorealistic renderings that you're going to produce, and you show them to Alex, and everybody sits down in his group and team and they love it and they think it's great, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and do the architectural elevation renderings so that when you come back to the board, if this gets put through, we don't have to ask you to then have those done. That's something.
So is there any way that we can move ahead without any more architectural renderings, because they're costly and I think it's a bit much, and we've produced them, it's like we all know what we're talking about, and it's not really all that hard to understand.
I find them to be as helpful, and I think that if this was not on the highway, and it was.
I agree, but we have seen them now. Please, let's not revisit that.
I'm sorry, Anne, that this is part of the process. Okay.
No, it's fine. We did it though. Please, I don't think there's necessity for it, is all I'm saying, considering cost and people's time. So,
Jonathan. Well, we can't approve this today without seeing something. So we've got to see something, whether it's the architect.
Yeah, well, we can't approve it today, really.
No. We have to have either photorealistic elevations or architectural elevations, and or both is what we'd like to require.
I'm happy to revise the architectural elevations and put the notes of the stain colors or the natural finishes on them. As much of it already is, but I'm glad to do that. I think.
Let me ask the board how they feel. Jonathan, would you feel comfortable not seeing this before you approved it?
In a rendering, you mean?
I have a good imagination, but it's always best if you're approving something that you actually see it. That's why you have the working drawings, and this could be an architectural drawing. We're just looking for a sense of proportion, is all.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Diane.
I tend to think that we've looked at this building and all its permutations so many times. And we know these people. I mean, I think we can trust them just to alter the architectural drawings.
Okay, Jeff, what's your head on this?
I agree. I think this is becoming torturous for the applicant, and I'm most concerned, though, for the applicant that why the building is in the terrible condition it's in. If you're talking about maintaining this as a primo building, it's horrible the way it looks today, and I'm a little concerned that you've let it fall into total disrepair.
And I also want to add that I think it's very disrespectful to your commercial neighbors in the area that they have to operate their businesses with a derelict building that has all this, overgrowth and paper hanging in the windows. It's beyond.
It's terrible. And
it's
4 weeks ago, Lori said the building would be cleaned up, the site would be cleaned up. None of that has happened. So we want to believe you. We want to make this successful for you, but your actions do not match your words to date.
Understood. So I've sent over, or I've requested several landscapers to go there. None of them have performed any work. I actually just spoke to another buddy who I asked to send over a landscaper, and he said that they don't return his phone call either. So maybe the job is too small, and I haven't had the time to come out there, quite honestly, between the kids getting ready for school, coming back from camp, and just ultimately getting back to work. But, even the spray paint on the sign, I don't know who did that. We didn't personally spray paint the sign, was one of the part of the notes that I had taken. I asked somebody to go over there and paint the sign white. I think in terms of the actual job in itself, it's not a master job for a landscaper to go there and do some weed whacking and cut a small
Alex, why don't you go to the train station and pick up a couple laborers who will do the weeds and clean up the horrible interior. You don't need a landscaper. You just need some manual labor. Right. It's disgusting the way the building looks.
Right. And also, too, Alex, you said that you maintain a home here. I'm sure you have somebody that comes and mows your lawn every other week or something like that, or you have workers that work on your property. Look at, and I really understand your frustration, but I'm going to tell you, this is how this rolls, and I am not going to just, because the pressure is on, to approve something without having legitimate drawings and photo.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I just, the rendering, I did not want to go to that. I'm happy to change drawings, and it's not not an issue at all. And put my information on there so you're comfortable. But it's a little heavy-handed to be attacking Alex for this situation. I understand everyone's upset about it. Okay, but could we, if, when we are able to move on, things will get better. It's like, I get that everyone's unhappy, but I also think
But Ann, this has been in front of us for probably 3 months. It hasn't gotten better. It's actually gotten much worse. So I don't believe what you're saying.
And
listen, that's a little heavy-handed, that kind of language. So I would really
no. This is the gateway to East Hampton. It is a disgrace to the town of East Hampton that everyone drives by this building. If this is the owner of the building, you have some responsibility to the community here to clean this up.
We're going to do it.
When is that going to happen, please?
Well, what I'm hearing is when they get our approval. So
yes.
Well, that could be a long time.
I understand.
Why are you saying that like that?
Excuse me. The last time that this was on, the Director of Code Enforcement was watching this, and they went over, and I believe that they issued a notice of violation or attempting to issue a notice of violation to the property owner because of the unkempt condition of the property's exterior. So, there is a situation on the property where you guys have an obligation to keep it in a safe condition. Like the grass can't be at such a level where it's potentially breeding infestation or breeding ground for rodents. And if there is an obligation to take care of the property, and especially when it's that visible. Or you're going to risk incurring, getting more summons or potential violations of the town code. But I think we should just leave it at at that the code enforcement is aware of it. And, you know, if it continues to remain in that condition, they'll be cited for it. So
Thank you.
Thank you, David. I
It'll be
appreciate you.
addressed.
And I
It'll be
would like to suggest that it gets addressed as soon as possible, and it's not contingent on getting approval for your
Of
change.
course not. Of course.
I'm going to table.
The
it.
assumption was that
Just
You're
a,
ready to come back to the board.
Betsy, just a quick note though about the sign, just to point out that you're better off just pulling that sign out completely that's perpendicular to Montauk Highway, because it's actually outside your property line anyway. So it wouldn't be legal. So rather than just paint over it or anything like that, just better remove it.
Thank you, Esperanza. All right, so this is tabled. We'll see you next time you can get in front of the board. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
thanks, everybody.
Amagansett Dunes Apartment Corp., tax map number 300-190-2-16.2, 379 Bluff Road in Amagansett. Jean, are you staying with us?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay. Jonathan, if you can read into the record what this application is for and give us a little update where we're at.
Yeah, well, this application is for replacing an existing set of 2 gates and a fence in the front of the building. The existing fence is old, and it's not as transparent as they would like, and it's also behind a hedge. This is the renderings have been given to us and so forth. The situation right now is that we asked for unapproved addition to a screening device over the entry area be addressed or removed. I was told that it would be removed, but I went past the other day, and it still was up there. So I'm not sure what actually is happening.
Okay. So, Jean, let's do this. And Jonathan and the board, let us deal with what this application was for right now, and then we can talk about the other situation. So, Jonathan, give us the heads up about the fencing and that we received the renderings with the heights for the gates and the width.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Maybe
well,
Kyle can pull them up so everybody can see them on the smart board.
We have a rendering, the former rendering of the gate, and we also got a new photograph of an existing gate, which is similar, assuming it's the same height or not. It doesn't matter because we have our own height, but it's similar. It's just the posts are taller than the fence.
On the photograph, but on the renderings, which we're going to go with the photograph that they submitted of the one at the house, we're not going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm just saying that's what it would look like in the real. Yeah. So it's the gates are 10 feet wide. Each door is 5 feet, and they are 6 feet off the ground. And the support posts are also 6 feet off the ground.
Right. Well, there's 3 gates. One's 10, one's 12, one's 8.
Yeah, you're right. So there's the 12-foot gate.
10 and 12.
And there's a single 8-foot gate.
No, that's,
which,
Jonathan, just let me interrupt there for a second. The 8-foot one is an example of how the fence is going to look, because you guys had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you weren't thrilled about the caps, that we're going to bring it above potentially 6 feet and bring the fence height down in total. We did a rendering also of just
the fencing
without the
right. So the first
is
the 10-foot gate. The second page, Kyle, Kyle's on the phone making dinner reservations. Then there's a 12-foot gate, and then the last one is the 8-foot panels for the fencing. Does anybody have any questions? Kyle, can we see these so the board can look at them?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, while Kyle is bringing up the pictures, we do have one caller holding. I do not know who it is. Can we find
Okay.
out what they're representing?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to unmute the last four digits of 4196.
Hi, my name's Margaret Lavin.
Okay.
I'm
No problem.
professor.
I'll put you on hold just for a moment.
She's 2 pages away.
Yep, no problem. I just wanted to find out. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Are these your pictures? Sorry. Say that again. What were you looking for?
Drawings. They're like pencil drawings of the
gate? Right here.
There's 3 of them, right?
So that's the first. That's the second. There's a third as well.
Yeah, it's not necessary, just so we can see 1 or 2.
Those are the 2 there, and
They're all kind of similar, so it's just a matter of just pulling it up for the board to see. If we could see 1.
it's there, right? You're not seeing it?
No, we're not
I don't
seeing.
see.
So you haven't been seeing anything that I've been pulling up this whole time, have you?
No, we have. Actually,
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Here it comes.
There it is.
Here it comes.
There now?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So this-
Sorry, I apologize.
That's all right.
Okay, this is the fence panel.
All right, these are the panels. Then if you can go to the next one, Kyle. For the fencing. That's for the panels for the fencing. All right, this is.
There we go.
Yeah,
This is the 10-foot fence, it says. There's another one that's 12.
right. Okay.
And they're obviously 6 feet off the ground.
And here's the 12-foot.
Right, okay. So, let me just double check something really quick. On the application that was presented for this, this only was for these fences and gates, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let's do this. Why don't we move forward to make a motion to approve these drawings for the record as presented? And then we could talk to Jean about what's going on with the lattice. John?
Okay, I move that we approve the fence and the 2 gates. The two gates and the 180-foot long fence. Everything be 6 feet tall above the ground. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Can I get a second on that, Chip?
Second.
All in favor? Esperanza
Aye.
and Diane.
Aye.
We might have wanted to say in that motion that it replaces existing fencing. So I'm just going to tag that on.
Okay.
So, Jean, one of the things I'd like for you to speak to Lori about, I had a vision today when I was driving by the East Hampton house facade on Panago Road. And if you look at the second story, they have a small, I don't know, it's like a couple feet of a white painted picket-like railing for their balconies. And it reminded me immediately of the type of wood fencing that is on the first floor of Amagansett Dunes, right? That's where you walk in between. They have this like sort of natural 6-foot picket fencing. You see it on the first floor?
The one that's down at the bottom?
Yeah. Right. So instead of, from what I understand from Jonathan, they're going to take down the second section of what we call lattice work because we've never approved it and it's not to code. And they were going to come back to us with some new ideas on how they were going to approach this. So my suggestion was to take a photograph of what is on the second story of the East Hampton house and present it to the Ocean Dunes, design group. And maybe that might be an idea to do on the second story, eliminate all that trellis that doesn't make any sense, in context to what's underneath it. It's just an idea. Okay. Because I just sort of, had a light bulb. And the other thing at that point in time, when they're doing that, they could paint it or they could leave it natural. But the area underneath the gable, that white painted clapboard, there's a lot of rotted wood there and it really needs a new paint job. So I would also recommend that if they could, want to think about cleaning that up as well, since it faces the roadway. Freshen it up a little bit.
That second thing you just said, Betsy, about the rotted wood area?
The gable area underneath the gable roof, right, where it's the white painted horizontal slats, over in the right corner, there's some rotted wood. Okay. And the paint's peeling. So I'm just saying, when you walk in there, it doesn't present, fresh and clean. It looks a little tired and needing a little bit of some TLC. So when they're, thinking about fixing what's going on that second floor. And we went ahead and approved the gates and the fences so you could get moving with that. But we really don't want this double lattice thing to drag out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's
against code, we never approved it.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get a violation on it in case the building inspector or the code enforcement guy's watching.
Yeah, so the intention is down at the end of the summer. Haven't had a chance to get it down yet, but that's the intention. They will be taking it.
Yeah.
One of the thoughts in the design process that you're going to have, I think that one of the biggest problems of the lattice is that it looks like the back side of the fence, the side of the fence that's faced into the gas tank, and so you're not looking at the front of it. And this is the front of the building. It should be the most literally attractive, that one would attract you to go into the building. And this has a repellent quality that way. Yeah. So whatever you put up there, that should be the focus, that it looks like the front. Whether you have to double it up to satisfy the owner inside is a separate issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then we had also asked Lori if this balcony to these units are their only balcony, or do they have also do they go all the way to the back of the building where they also have balconies that look at the ocean? Like, is this their backyard that faces the parking lot and they have a front yard with a balcony?
We did ask, and I know she discussed it with the management company, and she didn't leave me the answer to that. I'm not.
Well, when we come back with some proposals, she'll have that information for us. Okay.
I'll write down that for sure. Yep.
Could we just ask briefly? I know that we gotten some letters from the community that I had forwarded to you about this application, and I just want to say on the record that this application is not for a restaurant or a bar. It's for anybody watching. It's for fencing and lattice and all that, but it has nothing to do with a restaurant and a bar.
And that the gates and the fencing we approved are replacing existing gates and fences. It's nothing new. It's being replaced in like, but not kind. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, David. All right, Jane, thanks so much for everything.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
All right. 92 South Euclid Avenue, tax map number 300-49-1-15, 92 South Euclid Avenue in Montauk. And I'm looking for Katie Osicki. Excuse me for 1 minute. I got somebody at my back door. Juby, did you want to come in? Are you okay? Okay. Is Katie on?
There is no Katie in the waiting room and no Katie in the phone line. We do have another caller. Apparently, it's John Glennon waiting on the phone.
Does anybody know a John?
That's Katie Osicki.
It is? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then I will unmute the last four digits of 2007.
Kyle, does John work with Katie?
Correct. I believe
John's my fiance.
Yeah.
What?
Her fiance. No romance.
Is that Katie or John?
Katie.
This is Katie.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Nothing better than a little romance. Okay, here we go. Let me read into the record what this is for, this is for a new commercial building on a small lot behind Martell's on Montauk Highway in Montauk. And there are, in this section, there are 3 lots, and this is the center lot. And they are proposing a 2-story building, first floor, 1,058 square feet retail space, and the second floor is 1,058 square feet apartment. So that's total of a little bit over 2,100 square foot building. The first and second story porches, handicap ramp in the rear, a window well to the basement, parking in the front and rear with sidewalk on the west side of the building and in the front and rear. So, Kyle, I'm going to ask you to do some dancing around with these photographs. So there were some renderings that were submitted recently for this. This was before us back on March 11th. Katie presented this to the board for comments to planning regarding this new proposed retail/commercial building in a resident, not a residential district, but in a commercial district in Montauk. And what we saw when we reviewed this that was in front of us was the architectural elevations. We didn't see these color renderings. So these are now new color renderings that pretty much match what we reviewed in the elevations, but I believe, Katie, you said that it's a little bit narrower and smaller in some way. They reduced the overall square feet. Is that true?
Correct. We recently got zoning board approval, so there was a side yard variance here, and we made it slightly smaller than what you guys saw in, I believe it was March of this year.
Right. So the bottom rendering is what would face South Euclid, and what you see are the handicap parking spots that are there on the street that will be there for the retail space. And it looks like this is all open, but it's because of the landscape in front of it. If you scroll through board, on the files, you'll see that the windows aren't floor to ceiling, that they are up off of the foundation by, I don't know, maybe a foot. And then those 2 centered ones are the doors. Katie, one question is that going to be one space or is that a double space since there's 2 doors?
Betsy, do you mind if I believe Jeff is actually on either in the Zoom call or the last 4 digits of his phone number are 5997, if he can be let in.
Yes, I can do that right now. Jeff Sands is being admitted, and last 4 digits of 5997. You are being unmuted.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Jeff.
Okay, I just hung up. You let me in on audio and Zoom, so now I'm just on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Jeff.
Yes.
I was asking Katie a question on the rendering that's on.
Hello? Just on
If you
Zoom.
can see the bottom rendering, which shows the facade, is that a double retail space or is it one space?
No.
I was asking Katie a question on the rendering that's on.
Hello?
Somebody needs to mute their broadcast. Whoever's watching, they need to mute their audio, please.
So Betsy, it would be 2 retail spots, one on each side. That's why there's 2 doors.
Right, thank you. Okay. And then when you look at the upper left rendering, that's the back side, which will be, no, this is all the front side,
All the
correct?
front.
Okay, that's
Correct.
right. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Let's go to
That's all the front, yes.
Can I ask about what, now in the front, what the doors are going to look like? Are they going to look like this back door?
No, the front doors are all glass, and the back doors are going to have, it'll have styles.
All right, so it's solid glass and then solid windows, right?
Right.
Okay.
And A002 is the rendering of the backside, which shows that there's one back door from the retail space. Is that correct?
Correct. That goes into a
Yes.
back hallway.
Okay. And is there any egress to the basement on the outside?
Yes, there's an area well in the basement.
And is that over on the left where the little railing is?
It is, yes. Yeah, it's further down. Yeah, between the groups of trees, bushes.
And then the second
It's on the
story.
same side as where the handicap rail is.
Right.
And then the same, the second story has a balcony for the tenant facing the south, which is the ocean. Before we get into the building, I want to just do a quick study with the board. So Kyle, I want to go through the pictures that I sent to be uploaded so that the board can see what's surrounding this. There are, let's just start one at a time. All right, so this is facing the property. I'm on the north side of South Euclid looking towards the ocean. So this is the lot. This I think I took last, winter in March or February. Now, this building was built recently that the board approved within the last couple years. And this is, of course, was built in the, Carl Fisher Tudor style, which I think everybody was really happy with. Now, this faces west. The back of this is going to face east to the new building. So there's a Tudor-esque style building. And I want to say, before we move on from this, that in this area, as well as throughout all of the commercial downtown Montauk, we have a combination of all types of buildings anchored by these Tudors. Some are more like sort of, 50s retro, and then 50s, 60s retro, and then there's some more of these modern buildings that are starting to be built, which we'll see as we go through. Okay, so this is the west side facing the parking lot. Now, across the street from that building we just saw, this is a small motel that's been there forever. And I think it houses, somebody bought it to house their employees for a restaurant. And then the next shot is right next to it that we recently approved, more recently than the Tudor building. And this is sort of the newer kind of feeling of the buildings that we're starting to see come for this area as they're developing these empty lots on this corner of Euclid and South Essex, sort of at the northern part of the downtown district. So this has a lot of railing because I don't think they had enough space on the side to do the handicap ramp. So they had to creatively create that on the first floor. And then I believe, again, the second floor, and it's a gallery. And then the second floor is an apartment. And then the next photo, this is that sort of 50s, 60s era, which is a double-sided, obviously, retail space. And then I just want to point out to the right of it, there's a little, Pete's Potting Shed has a little, green yard where they sell plants. And then after that is a very large lot that's right on the corner. And that would be, hold on one second. What is that? 90. Katie, this was yours that we approved too. And there's one, I asked, I know. Kyle, there's a file, excuse me for 1 minute. There's a file for 94 South Euclid, if you can open that up. This is the one that we approved recently. Well, we didn't approve it. We did change comments to planning on it. We haven't seen, this hasn't come back to us yet for approval. But I want to show you what we were looking at. And I'm looking for the color renderings, the architectural. There you go. This is what we approved on the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can see where, we're getting these sort of more, how can I say, contemporary or postmodern buildings with a lot of this railing and balcony top and bottom. And so if we go now around to where we just left off with this building, I'm starting to see a little bit of a cohesiveness between the building across the street with all the handicap ramping, this down on the corner towards South Essex, and then this new one. I just want to also point out to the board that I'm belaboring this because of this. There's 2 more lots that are going to probably be developed, and I just don't want us to be looking at these in a sort of individual structure, that there be more cohesiveness and harmony. I'm not looking for conformity, because that's, again, in our code that, things don't have to conform, but they have to be harmonious to the area. So when we're reviewing this building that Katie has before us and that Jeffrey has presented, to keep this in mind. Okay, so Kyle, if we can go back to those first renderings that we started with for 92 South Euclid. Let me talk about the materials. I believe this is cedar shingles, and the roof is a gray, where did I see this? Standing seam metal roof, and all the trim and the railings are white. Is that correct, Jeff and Katie?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Something's bothering me about this, and I don't know if it's because when I go back and I look at the actual architectural elevations, this matches pretty much the same, but this again is just something I want to mention to the board, why I think these photorealistic renderings are as important that we see before we approve these important buildings. Because when I was looking, and I think the board was looking at the renderings, we weren't really seeing how sort of flat this looks in this facade, that the roof is so tucked, and this is my opinion, so tucked tight to the gable roof, so tucked tight to the siding, that there's something, I feel there's something missing, some kind of more of a design element here. So Jeffrey, do you want to speak to that? Maybe there's something I'm not getting.
No, the building was definitely designed to be clean and not have too many big overhangs.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a front porch in our last design. However, because of what we had to do with planning, we had to remove the front porch.
Was that on the first floor or the second floor?
It was on the first floor. The front doors were
nice
tucked
area.
in, so we were really pinched here.
Right.
So of course we could add overhangs, rakes. It does take away from from the the cleanness of the building.
Well, I think what is also sticking out to me is that the doors and the windows don't have any sort of divided lights, or they're casement windows, and I think everything just looks a little bit too pedestrian. And Montauk is such, and I say this in a good way, like a mismatch of designs that I don't know. It just they're just. I would not be ready to say this is ready to go for me. Jonathan, do you want to say something about your thoughts on
I
this?
think it's nice and clean. It's almost like a breath of fresh air in a way. It has a real classic, simple quality to it. But
Okay, Chip, where are you on this?
I'm with Jonathan. I mean, it's a mishmash of stuff in Montauk. This is crisp, clean, it's contemporary. It's the way the world is going out there. I rather like it.
Okay, Diane.
Me too. I feel the same.
Okay, and Esperanza.
I like it for those same reasons. But as you were speaking about this, and it's unfortunate that you had to lose the porch, because I do agree with you, and we just had this in the prior application. That expanse of glass is perfect for retail. I totally appreciate that, but there's again that sort of exposed feeling of that ground level that doesn't have, the entryway doesn't have like a welcome to it. Doesn't feel like, I don't know. And then it just, those clear, the transom windows across, it did look like it was all open. It looked like an open sort of pergola or something rather than being windows and doors.
Where's
So I
the
think, like I
signage
said,
going to go?
if you look at the plans, the elevations, you take the little shrubs away, you'll see.
Oh, I can see that. I can see it on this rendering on the upper right. That's not my issue. It just, I'm agreeing with you, Betsy, that there's this element of sort of flatness, and yes, it's clean, but there's something missing to this particular front facade that I find a little cold and sort of sterile. But it's clean, it's nice.
Where's the signage going to go?
Good question. I mean, if it had, would it have an awning? Would it have, are we going to end up having to approve extra things for this and then it loses its clean lines?
Tell us why they made you take the porch off, Andrew.
Jeffrey?
So I'll comment on that, Betsy, if you don't mind. So we were in front of the zoning board, and we were asking for a 7-foot variance for a side yard, and we ended up, it's now only a 3-foot variance, but with that, it's 2 retail shops, and it's roughly 1,000 square feet. So if we lost more of that interior space, then it's really hard to get 2 retail shops downstairs, and that's something that's very important to the client. So the porch went with that design so he could capture more space downstairs. And again, it's really not that big. I mean, it's a little over 1,000 square feet on the first floor.
Okay. I want to do 2 things if you'll humor me. Kyle, can we look at the 2 buildings that, that is there now, the white one with the handicap ramp, and then also the renderings for this more sort of Southern style building? There would be the one would be a photograph that I sent, which is, keep going. No, not that one there. So if you look at that, which is across the street, this does have a little bit of a little bit of a overhang on the top. I guess, that it doesn't have as much of this railing, that it softens what's going on here. And then if you can go to the 94, is it 94, 96, whatever, I
think it's 97 Essex.
97 Essex, thank you. I'm getting old, Katie.
Images.
Okay, so just blow one of them up, the middle one, Kyle. So again, the one in question that we're talking about, again, calms some of this down, right? Because this now looks, a lot. But this has a little bit of a pitch again to it. I'm just wondering if you just extend the roof lines on that, you'll maintain what 3 of the board members are, liking. But I think it would just add a little something to the front and the back part, just on the pitch gable. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I see that we could certainly do that.
Is everybody okay with the metal standing seam roof, which will match what we're looking at here? Not match, but harmonize with what we're looking at here?
Yes.
Where are the images of the building? Can we go back to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Katie, that is metal seam, right? The one there that we're just looking on
Yes.
Essex Street?
I believe so, Jeff, is that we were proposing metal
Yes.
there as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a metal roof?
Yes, as is this one.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't know. I think that if you had an overhang, it's much smaller, much simpler building. I think it's good to have this tight thing. Are there going to be gutters there?
Right. There's going to be gutters. They didn't show up on the rendering, but they're on the architectural drawings. So that's going to give you a little bit more extension off the side.
Well, let me ask you, Jeffrey, what do you prefer? Would you prefer it extended out, or would you prefer to leave it as it is and then let the gutters do their thing?
If they were to extend out, I mean, I don't think we'd go more than 6 inches. I don't think
Right.
this building would look good with 12-inch overhangs or
No,
anything
I
like
wasn't suggesting that. I was just suggesting a little something,
that. I
something.
mean, happy to do a little bit of an overhang.
Okay.
That's fine.
Anybody else? Windows, doors, lighting? Where's the lighting?
The lighting, the lights are next to the doors on the
Right.
upstairs. There's
Right, there's 2 sconces, and is there any other lighting for the building?
well, then there's porch lighting on the back porch, and then there's lighting upstairs.
There's 2, right, there's 2 sconces for the second story on the back. There is, doesn't show any lighting for the back floor. I
That's a
guess
ceiling light.
ceiling lights. And are there ceiling lights on the second story as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
Just wall lights.
So I don't have any other questions. We can accept this as presented, or we could ask to, bump it out a little bit. And I think we could make a motion to approve it as presented, since 3 of the board members felt that it was fine. All right, Esperanza, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Was the question answered from, I think, Jonathan, about signage? Like, what would be
We didn't get that answer, no.
I imagine it would go in the transom windows.
Great.
All right, well, any kind of signage, is there any kind of other fencings would have to, come before the ARB? So I'm going to make a motion to approve this application as presented with the renderings as well as the architectural elevations dated. Well, wait a minute, I got a question. These are dated 4/9/2020, so wouldn't I need new ones where it's the smaller scale?
Huh?
They should all be dated
The
9/13.
drawing, yeah, 9/13 should be what you're looking at.
That's what we have in the file.
Okay,
I
and
have-
was just shown correct.
Excuse me, in my
Correct,
file,
Katie.
I have the the 3D renderings dated 9/13. When I scoot back through the plans, my lighting plan is dated 10/9/2020.
But there's a revision on that sheet, 9/13. If you look up in the corner.
It's at the top.
Okay, great, thank you for that, okay. And then that goes all the way through to the elevations. Oh,
Right.
excellent, great, thank you for pointing that out to me, okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the application as presented with the plans that are dated 9/13/2021. Can I get a second on that, Jonathan?
Yes.
And all in favor, Esperanza,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
and Chip?
Yes.
All right, you're good to go, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Nate.
Okay, Esperanza, are you gonna stick with us, or are you heading out?
I'm gonna head out. I'm sorry that I have to leave early, but
Enjoy your
Pleasure.
evening.
sorry.
I said enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
The next one is me.
Fences, walls, gates, and berms, Stephen and Renee Selman, tax map number 300-39-6-234 Camberley Road in Springs. Matt, let us know if there's anybody there.
Yes, and Chris from New Shine just was in the waiting room. I think I lost him, or he tapped out or something.
All
I
right,
just
well,
had him.
in the meantime, Jonathan will read into the record what this is for.
Okay, this is for a fence for around a new house. The
What's Rowdy Newhouse?
What is that?
No, it's a new house.
Oh, Rowdy Newhouse.
I call the owner was called with the questions about the 6-foot fence which exists behind the house, face of the house on the side yard. That's why he's why he's here. This fence is a 6-foot fence that wraps around the property for the most part, around the swimming pool, and stops at the facade, at the front plane of the house. And at the front plane of the house, there's an additional fence, which is white, which connects that fence with the house. The stockade fence, which surrounds the house, is all natural wood, and that's where we are. So,
let me just address his question. On Stephen and Renee Seldman's application, it asks, were you referred to the ARB by the building department? It says yes. And then he wrote, it says, if yes, please explain why. He said, I called with a question about a 6-foot fence behind the face of the house on the side front street. So if, Kyle, you can go to the survey first before we look at Jonathan's picture. I'm going to give everybody the lay of the land here. This is a corner lot.
Oh.
One side of the house is Underwood Drive, which is their, from their perspective, their side. And Camberley is their address road, so that's the front. But in speaking with a planner at the office yesterday, in our preview meeting, we asked her to verify that both these roads are considered to be front-facing streets. So he's not allowed the 6-foot by right on Underwood Drive because it faces a street. So Matt, is he still here or not? I'm sorry, is he on with us yet?
Is it Chris Arbia?
No.
No. Okay. I still do not have Chris from New Sunshine. I can't talk tonight.
That's okay. It's a rough night. Jonathan, can you take the board around?
Wait, excuse me, if I may. I have down on my list that under this applicant, Chris Arbia is the agent.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, then let me go ahead and admit him.
Okay. So, Jonathan, when he comes on, can you then take the board around this survey where all this fencing is so we could just get an idea?
yeah,
Because it's a pretty big property.
a lot of fence. Yeah. The I can start now.
Okay.
All right. You see there's a fence line that's a line with X on it across the front of the house, juts back and goes over to the other side of the house. Those
Right.
are white vinyl fencing, and the other fence starts at that point where it goes back along, where you're noting a few feet off the property line and stops at a certain point, and it comes toward Underwood, and then comes along on the property line all the way to where the white fence exists. Right there. So
Very good, Kyle. That was wonderful.
yeah,
Can we get
Cool.
like a little red X's next time so it's really visible?
it's black and white. Yeah, oh, I see. Yeah, right.
When
Yeah.
we're back in the meeting room and we have the board, we can, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the one question I have, Kyle, if you could find the picture that was up there just now with the front facade of the house, I want to ask David a question. They have this white vinyl picket fence that goes from the house to the, if you could blow that up, or maybe there's a better.
There's more photos. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah. Blow that one up for us, please, Kyle. David, you see, doesn't this picket fence, this white picket fence, look like it's not behind the plane of the house? Does it have to be, or is this satisfactory for their 6-foot right? There's
You're saying
What I
Is it
don't
connected
recall
to-
that actually, and I believe that it's not touching the house. it is just set away from the house, and we're looking at an illusion, but I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is. I don't remember it being off front of the plane of the house.
Okay.
Oh. If it's connected to the house, Betsy, they're entitled to the 6 feet.
Great. Thank you.
I can't tell from that photo though.
Right.
Hello? It's got to be just a few inches if it is.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's also a below 4 foot grade of a berm that they're.
That's behind the orange mesh. Whoops. This right here. This is pretty close. The berm is here. This is really not 4 feet. It's more like 30 inches. They're going to plant on top of this, I guess, but it's a nice. I mean, it's better than fencing off your front yard, and it'll provide a private area for the drive entry area.
So they're looking for approval, right, for any stockade fence that is on Underwood Drive and facing Camberley Road that's in front of the house, which there isn't. It's just the fencing that's along Underwood Drive.
On Underwood, yeah.
Yeah. And Jonathan, is there any photographs of that fencing from the street on Underwood where we can see if there's landscaping, or is it all just sort of bare?
Go to another photo, but if you look at this, was this first one over here? Oh no, it's hard to tell. They're so tiny, but let's look at 8846.
This one.
Yeah, that one. All right. Underwood is over there. Riston beyond these trees. There's no special landscaping. It is as God gave it to us, so to speak.
Let's go through the photos and one by one.
Yeah. But I didn't take a photograph from Underwood.
So that's on the inside. Okay.
Yeah. That's This is the backyard.
That the fence operates for their
pool.
Fence. The front is all open. That's the berm.
That's yep.
All right. So this would be where, Jonathan? Is this
the outside of the? This is the outside between Underwood and the road.
Okay, so that's basically all they're looking for approval for, from my perspective, correct? David, are you looking at the surveys and stuff? And is that?
Yeah, it's the application is for the, we don't need to give them an approval for the berm, but they just put it in there.
Right.
The only thing they need an approval for is the stockade fence that's 8 feet, or, that's more than 6 feet. The white fences are 6'2" off the ground, but there'll be landscaping, I guess.
Well, so we can for 2 inches there's that contractor's fee, but where do you? I only see 6 foot stockade fence around the sides and the back of the property.
Okay, these are not my photographs. This is before some other work was done. This was sent in. I was there the other day and I took the photographs, and those white fences were installed, and it goes right over to connect to that spot on the left of this photograph.
Mm-hmm. All right, but what I'm trying to get to, the only thing that I can see that they need approval for is the stockade, the 6 foot stockade fence that runs along Underwood Drive. Everything else they have by right.
That's right. Because
David?
Yeah, because they're like 70 feet off of their back, your property line on the back, and
right,
on the side it's the neighbor, so they can have a 6 foot fence.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah.
Does anybody have an issue of approving this big expanse of stockade fence along Underwood? I'm not happy about it, but it encloses their yard in the back.
I don't see why it can't be, lower.
Lower than what?
Lower than 6 feet.
Like what?
I guess 4 is a bad thing to say, but you know, the
I need some help. Come on, Chip. Diane, where are we on this? You know, is Underwood like a street where, you know, this is?
Yeah, what's the context of this neighborhood, Jonathan? What is it like?
The neighborhood on Kimberly is heavily bushed up front yards with houses set back. Underwood is more of a street with houses on it, and
so it's pretty rural, is what you're saying.
It would be.
Oh, God gave it.
There are no fences going down Underwood. This is an anomaly. Yeah.
Oh, this would be the first?
I can't say the first, but you know, there's nothing like this like there
Well,
that I saw.
Then it's contextual. It's a lot of fencing for a place that's pretty rural.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the fencing because of the pool, and it really doesn't go all the way back to Jonathan's point. And it doesn't really look like the pictures look wide, but it doesn't look like there's a big area in the backyard.
It's big. It's a big area. Well, you can see that it's 150 feet long, you know, or 130 or something like that from side to side. So,
Chris, we're definitely going to weigh in on you. Just give us a minute to do what we do. The other thing for me, I think if that white picket 6-foot fence was further back towards the backer plane of the house, that it would be, you know, so that the 6-foot stockade wasn't, you know, all the way to where it says, you know, FC something like, you know what I'm saying? Like where it comes off to Underwood. It just, you know, it seems like a lot of stockade fence on a rural road with just a lot of, you know, scrubby stuff in front of it, nothing planted. So I don't know what to do. I'm on the fence. Chris, hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Tell us what you want to say.
Oh, you started asking questions about the white fence. It does start on the corner of the house. It's within inches of touching the house because it's the foundation behind it for the steps.
Mm-hmm.
The owners of the property have asked me to have that put in for them. And unfortunately, we misunderstood the 2 frontages. I've always knew of the rule, no forward of the front of the actual house.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it got by even the fence company because he said that not every township on Long Island rules the 2 frontages as far as fences are concerned. And this is really for privacy from Underwood. Even trees planted in the area. I mean, we left a big buffer, if you can see, from Underwood towards the pool, but there was still a lot of road noise and a lot of road, you know, with the cars going by, they felt they needed some extra privacy.
Well, there is a buffer, but you put the fence right on the property line.
Well, in other words, they wanted to be able to get as best possible coverage from the road.
And if you didn't, then you wouldn't have from the front those you know 6-foot or 8-foot panels on the side of the stockade that sort of butt into the white. It you know, if the white would have been where that ends and then you started the stockade not exactly on the property line, I think it would have presented better from the front.
Unfortunately, that's what they asked me to do. I can't disagree with you. I'm just only representing what they had asked originally to have done. These panels are all 6 foot high. Nothing is higher than 6 foot. There might be 2 inches or so below on some of it where the town code allows for on pool fencing.
Pool fencing is 4 feet.
Minimum, yes.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah.
But it's allowed to be as high as 2 inches off the ground, I believe, off the grade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify the questions that I had earlier about that.
Chris, who was the fence company?
Riverhead Fence?
Okay, okay.
Let me ask this. Would this be acceptable if I asked to table this so that when we're all out doing our site inspections for the next meeting, we can all take a look at this and do a drive-by and determine if we feel that this is acceptable or if it's offensive to the neighborhood? Because I don't have enough, streetscape, pulled back to make that decision for myself tonight.
I think that's a great idea, Betsy.
Okay. Is that okay, Chris? Can we table this to our next meeting?
I'm at your beck and call, please, whatever.
So what I'm going to do is, because we're going to ask you to let us table this because we want to take a better look, I'll advise the staff to put you automatically on our next meeting, which
Thank you.
I believe is it October 9th?
That's great.
The 14th.
When he's right, he's right. Thank you, Kyle. Okay.
No problem.
We'll do that. And you don't have to do anything else. We'll do our, drive-bys and take whatever pictures, and then we'll just see you on the 14th. Okay, Chris?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I just
Take
make
care.
a note real quick for Nora? Okay, Lee Carr, tax map number 300-159-1-18.27, 10 Fieldview Lane, East Hampton. Diane Benson, and I think we're looking for either Lee or Will, Matt. Let's see who's there first, Diane, before you start.
They should be in already. It's representative, I believe, is Jill.
Okay.
Or at least I let them in. There they are. They do not have audio right now. I'll give them a second. Nor do they have video right now.
But they're muted.
So maybe they're just listening.
But is there any way that you could ask them to unmute themselves? Can anybody?
Okay, I just sent a note out to them.
Thank you. Let's give them a few seconds. Is everybody okay?
Jill, can you hear us? I see they're not muted.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do, Matt? I'm going to move forward. If they come on, just let me know, okay? The next one was Jeffrey Maslow, tax map number 300-87-1-21201, Old Montauk Highway in Montauk. That has been asked to be postponed by Joel Halsey. And then we have Neil Cohen and Sarah Pearson, tax map number 300-39-7-871 Camberley Road, just down the street from Stephen and Renee. And that would be in Springs, and we would be looking for Neil Cohen.
Yes, I just admitted him.
Good. There's Neil. Hi, Neil.
I'm here.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Well, nice to see you without your mask.
Likewise.
So, Jonathan, can you read what's going, read into the record what this was about, and then where we're at, and,
Okay.
and present what
So,
Neil's situation is.
they are trying to get an updated C of O, and they were told that they had to, the deer fence in the front and the driveway gate were problems because they were above 4 feet. And he came to us, and we had a long discussion last time about lowering them to 6 feet, or actually, I misspoke, setting them back way toward the house, removing the fences out in front and the gate out in front, and only having pedestrian gates in the back, around the front line of the house, because they want to put a pool in the back. So they said that sounded like a good idea. And they went home and thought about it and realized that they need to put in the swimming pool. They need to put in a new septic field, and all the construction is going to they won't be able to put their fence back there with the pedestrian gate because that's where all the construction is going to be. So that what they'd like to do is get approval for the 6-foot fence in the front and the 6-foot gate in the front temporarily while they do all this construction. And if that takes a year or so, then they would come back, move everything move the fence and gates back to the house line and remove the fencing in the front. Am I correct there, Neil?
That pretty much sums it up very well.
Yeah, and that really makes a lot of sense, Neil. However, in speaking with the staff, who guides us in procedure and whatnot, that if we were to make, and this is where I'm going to ask David McMaster to help us along, if we were to approve what you're asking, which what I'm hearing is for you not to spend any money at this point because you're going to have all this work going on, and just drop down what's existing feet in the front, and we're allowed to approve up to 6 feet, then that would be a temporary approval. And then when all the work is done, you would come back to us and, move forward with the other work, which would really, if you did what we suggested, would require ARB approval because it is 6 feet behind the plane of the house, and by right, you're allowed up to that. The problem is that I don't know if anybody right now would approve 6 feet in the front as permanent. And once we give you the approval, and we can't really, and that's what I'm going to ask David, if we could do a temporary approval with a deadline date. But in the 6 years I've been doing this, I don't recall it. So I don't have something to,
Betsy, I don't know of any circumstances where we've done that. And I don't know of the section of the code that authorizes a temporary approval. So I'm happy to look into it, but my sense is that the answer is no. We don't do temporary approvals.
Right.
Who's going to police it? Who's going to police this temporary thing?
Right, exactly.
That's exactly right. So
it becomes really tricky. So I'll tell you what I thought.
Why don't we call it not an approval of a fence, but the approval to put a construction fence 6 feet high in the front of the house while they're doing construction?
Well, I'd like to make one step better than that because I don't like construction fencing in the front. I was going to suggest to Neil, so that it doesn't cost him too much money, and since this is all temporary, to take down the fencing and the gates that you have in the front, cut them down to 6 feet, and put them like construction fencing behind the plane of your house. You could operate them, close them up at night because you have all those holes. But then this way, your backyard is protected and the ARB doesn't need to give you approval to do that.
Excellent. Yeah.
So you're suggesting that I put up the deer fence even with the plane of the house,
right,
and remove the driveway gate altogether because
you utilize the materials you have, but just put it to the plane of your house. And then when all of your great pool is done, you've got your new septic, you're going to want new fencing and gates and and then you just rip that stuff down, get rid of it, and then start over. And if it's over 6 feet, you got to come and see us, which I know you want to do. But if you want it at 6 feet, you don't have to.
Now, would it be okay if we lowered the fence and the deer fence, kept the deer fence and the gate in the front, but lowered it to 5 feet? Let's say, is there a height that would be acceptable to the board?
4 feet, and you don't need our approval. That fencing and gates, let me just see if I have that all here. Can we see some pictures, Kyle, so the board can see what we're talking about?
This is a neighbor's area. Go to another photo. Yeah. Here we are.
Yeah, that's the front gate. So we would have to cut that basically in half, or replace it with another gate, or take it down altogether and put up something else that would.
Is it 8 feet tall?
It's 8 feet tall, yeah. My concern is that I have a dog, and deer have gotten in regardless of all these things, and it can be kind of an ugly scene with the dog and the deer.
Well, the other thing we could do, and we could have to pull the board, is we could grant you a little higher than the 6 feet with the plane of the house if you feel that the 6 feet and the dog can't be in the front, so now it's got to be in the back and you want to secure that. We could go a little higher on the fencing and the gates to 7 if the board is amenable to that. But I'm not happy with this gate at 6 feet, as big and wide as it is, and all that deer fencing around your property.
Right.
We can't give you a temporary,
No, I understand the temporary thing very clearly. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm just wondering, with all the foliage and the growth and stuff like that hides the deer fencing in the front, if it were lowered to 6 feet, and
well, I don't really see too much foliage, and the foliage goes.
There's a longer shot of it that.
But it's you have a lot of deciduous trees there too, don't you?
No, it's pretty
evergreen.
Evergreen, yeah.
Jonathan, what's your take on there? You've been there a couple of times.
Yeah. I kind of thought your idea of putting this fence back there at the plane of the house. I suppose, I don't see why that isn't a good idea, since we're going to be doing that anyway in the future. May as well start out and get everything set up that way.
Well, we would probably put up a much sturdier, fence that would stand by itself. I just don't see this deer fence standing by itself very sturdily.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is plastic, is it not?
Yeah. So, and I would intend to, down the road, to replace it with a wooden post and the metal wire.
Right.
The town requires that deer fencing be wire, that it's not plastic, that plastic is very dangerous to animals. An animal could, like with a rack, can go into it, not noticing it, and then try to get out and grab.
No, I totally get that. And I've seen it in action.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You've got to figure this out. We can't figure it out for you. You've got to bring this into compliance. What you're hearing from the board is we're not willing to give you approval for this gate and this plastic deer fencing and these poles at 6 feet in the front of your house.
Okay. Now, if I were to decide and I'll be brief. I understand you guys are really got a full schedule. If I were to remove the deer fencing in the front and just leave the amount that comes up to the top of the split rail fencing.
The rabbit fencing, yeah.
And then I would take down.
Wait, excuse me. I just want to be clear. You can have up to 4 feet in the front without our approval.
Okay, so if I were to have up to 4 feet in the front and either take down the gate, the driveway thing altogether, or cut it down to 4 feet, then could I then apply for a CO? I would need your approval for that.
Correct.
So I don't have to come back to you with that. I just go right to the building inspector and say, send your inspector out to take a look at
that. You cut everything down to 4 feet.
Okay.
And then you don't have anything taller than 6 in the back, correct?
In the back? No, the back is 8.
The back is 8. Do you have?
But that's bordering on another house.
Do you have approval for the 8 foot in the back?
No.
Okay, and is that the same type of fencing?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to approve plastic deer fencing at 8 feet.
So
you're going to have to figure that out. And if you want to leave that up, but you don't have approval for it, they may not give you the C of O without ARB approval for it.
So, but I also have plastic deer fencing on the sides too, which butt up against my neighbors who also have their own fencing up there, which is.
The neighbor's fencing is the same height as this fencing, whether they often overlap.
Well, anything in the front plane of your house can't be higher than 4 without ARB, and anything from the plane of the house back, on the sides and the back, you can have 6 feet. Anything above that, you need ARB approval. So you're gonna have to cut that down to 6 or figure something out.
So, okay, so if I remove everything in the front or cut it down to 4, and on the sides, I cut myself down to 6 and back to 6 in the back, then I don't need ARB approval.
Absolutely. And then you can do what you want. How nice is that?
All right, I got it.
Okay, and then if you decide to do something different that you need ARB approval, then you come back, but you'll be working with the building department with all your stuff. So if you have any questions about, ARB codes and whatnot, they'll be able to help you with that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Good luck, Neil.
Thank you.
I hope
Bye-bye.
it goes really smooth for you. Okay, do we have Jill on yet? Matt?
All right, Jill is still unmuted, and we have a Margules Properties in the waiting room. Is that part of Lee Carr?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay, so I'm going to omit the Margules Properties.
Who is this, Kyle?
I'm here.
Lee Carr.
Leah's here.
Okay.
And I don't. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Who is Margules Properties?
Penfield View Lane.
Yeah, that's Leah Carr. I'm just in my office, so Margulies Properties is just my office.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So what project is this?
This
Penfield
is
View Lane.
Penfield View
okay.
on page 2, the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Lee Carr, tax map number 300-159-1-1827, Tenfield View Lane in East Hampton. Hi, Lee. Diane's going to read into the record what this is for.
Okay. This is a new construction house that has already been before us, and we have all approved. But the building department has questioned the 8-foot fence on the back perimeter of the property. This is one of the many new architecturally significant houses on Field View. And the fence in question, the property is only a half enclosed by fencing, I'm happy to say. And the back fence faces the Buckley's Wholesale Farm greenhouses and dirt lots. And it is beautifully enclosed in cryptomeria trees that will only get more beautiful with age. I feel it's that they've been very sensitive about the house, and my tendency is to approve this 8-foot fence.
Okay, so behind this 8-foot fence is only on the back plane of the house.
Only on the back plane.
And it butts into a commercial landscaping company.
Yeah. The Buckley's Wholesale Farm on Long Lane, which is a very industrial, muddy, wonderful, but
Yeah. Okay. Chip or Jonathan, do you have any questions for Diane or Lee?
I've been up to that neighborhood, looking at a neighboring house. I think it's fine.
Jonathan?
Sounds fine to me. It's not a big, I can't see it from a distance, but I think that against a commercial property, especially a landscape property, I think the stockade fence is fine. Yeah.
Right. And from the roadway, you have no
Oh, you don't see anything, no.
Okay, Diane, go ahead, honey.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion to accept this application as presented.
Can I get a second on that, Chip?
Second.
Great. All in favor, Jonathan?
Yes.
And Betsy, aye. Okay, thank you, Lee. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. Thanks.
Mhm.
Next, I'm going to read both of them into the record. 226 Bluff Road LLC and 230 Bluff Road LLC, tax map number 300-172-4-815 and tax map number 300-172-4-8.14, 230 Bluff Road. And we're looking for Adam Jordan. There he is.
Hi.
Adam. So Diane, you weren't here last meeting, right?
wasn't here last meeting, but this is the third time I have looked at this property, and I believe somebody else looked at it in between. So I think it's the fourth time they've come before us for their pedestrian and driveway gate. Now they have.
I looked at this last time in your absence, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So before you go on, Diane, Chip, can you then bring us up to date what took place at the last meeting with this?
I think I can. I mean, it was tabled. They've come back with yet another proposal.
Right.
They have eliminated the wall-like feeling of the gate completely. Kyle, can you show us the new drawings?
Yep.
Diane, what happened at the end of our review with Adam is he had something in his back pocket that he pulled out as a sort of like Hail Mary place. You know, here's something, and we all thought, yes, this is so much better.
That's the old.
That's the old.
Yeah.
And so we asked Adam if he'd go back to the the applicant, and reduce the width of the posts. I think from 18 to 12, if I'm not mistaken.
And 24 to 18, maybe.
24 to 18.
24 to 18.
Thank you. We felt 24 was just way too massive. And also to see if they would do 5 feet instead of 6, considering that, it is set back 50 feet from the road. We didn't, hit them with the 4 feet. We give them the 5. So that's where we were at the last meeting.
Okay. Well, as you can see, now this isn't the final. There's yet another drawing, Kyle, which is very, very open.
Wasn't it the one right above what we were looking? There it is. That's it, right? No, that's not it.
No, that's this one. It's what they've come back with now is very, very widely spaced, totally from top to bottom. No,
the first.
There's
Hold on.
The plans are A106, and they were received on. No, that's not it.
Let's see.
That's not it.
Let's see.
Oh, that's not it.
Yes, this is it. A106.
Nope.
Huh.
What I'm looking at is much more open. It's sort of two to one, open to closed. It's very, very.
Let's see it in here.
And it's called BR226, or A106 here in the corner. BR226.
They're all A106.
I wonder if it wasn't uploaded.
Maybe not. I mean, I have it in my hands, but.
Yeah, but we reviewed this yesterday.
Can I resend it now?
Could you?
Yes, I'm at my email.
Okay.
I'm gonna. You know what? While you're doing that, gentlemen,
I'll chat you my email address.
Myself for 1 minute.
Well, I think that they have done an admirable job of heeding our call here. I'm inclined to look favorably even on the 6 foot in consideration of how they have changed this favorably. But if you would bring this gate as you've designed it now down to 5 feet, it would set such a good example for this gate creep that is happening east of you on Bluff Road.
I'm just sending these. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I just sent those over to you.
Okay, great.
Did you find it? Diane, where are we? I had to excuse myself.
Where are we?
Yeah, what are we doing? We're waiting for it to.
We're waiting to see the new design, which is very, very transparent, but still at 6 feet. And I wish it would be just a little bit, even 5.5 feet. I don't know. I think it would make such a difference.
5 feet. Yeah.
Well, I want to weigh in on this because I've really given this a lot of thought. And after we upload Adam's rendering so we can see how much nicer the gate looks, and I hope
So
that
much nicer.
he likes it better than where they started, that I drove by there doing, ride-bys like I do. And I took a picture from the roadway, and I just want to get some clarification where this is actually going to be situated. But I am so reluctant, Adam, to approve a 6-foot gate for numerous reasons. And mainly is that I'm of the opinion, and somebody else had, I think, confirmed this for me, who was looking to get approval for a 6-foot gate on Bluff Road, that all of the 6-foot gates in the neighborhood of this area have not been approved by the ARB board. These were put up by the owners and gate people that either didn't tell the owners that there's codes or the owners didn't care. If not me, because I'm not the board, but if the board were to approve this 6-foot gate and all of a sudden code enforcement has time and they do a fell swoop through that area and start hitting everybody with code violations, they're going to come back and say, well, 226 and 230 have a 6-foot gate. I really am so reluctant to start a precedent, regardless of whether it's, approved or not, for Bluff Road with 6-foot gates. It's going to end up not looking like Montauk. Like East Hampton. And I'm so reluctant to do it. So it's up to the board, but I'm going to tell you, I would vote no for a 6-foot gate on Bluff Road for those reasons. I think, you're going to achieve what you need to achieve with a 5-foot gate.
Yeah, I mean, so the client here, his main concern really is the deer, to keep them off the property. I know the argument is the 6-foot, they can jump over the 6-foot, which I understand. I know, technically you are allowed, obviously, a 6-foot gate with your approval. So he would like to push for that. And I guess his other main comment back was he doesn't really want to be a scapegoat for everybody else who's done it illegally. So, he did want to come to you guys and present something that you found acceptable design-wise. We've opened it up. He would be willing to open up a little bit more if that helps with the approval.
It's the height, because we have been through and guided by our attorneys that once we approve something in an area, it's very difficult for us to say no to somebody else in the same situation, in the same area. We would have to approve it. So it's tricky.
No, I understand. My question would be, when would a 6-foot gate be approved at that point? Is that just for agricultural use?
That would be never, yeah.
If it was, let's say, if it was down a flag lot and it was way up in the woods where nobody sees it, wouldn't be on this beautiful open beachy lane. It would be somewhere where it wasn't, something that was going to start a precedent. And that there was a legitimate reason other than we don't want deer in our property. There was some other, situation that they needed to have that for whatever the reason would be. And I can't imagine what that would be. But
also you're building such beautiful houses there, If you put in this gate that felt good to this beautiful architecture, I think it would be it
would enhance it.
Yeah, it would really make a difference. I think it would make really a big difference.
So Kyle, did you get anything from?
What day did you say it was stamp received by the office?
Diane, what is yours?
I have an August 10th.
No. Well, I have the letter says September 2nd, and the plans. I don't know. He just sent.
Here we go. You know what I can do? I have the hard copy here. I can hold it up.
Yeah, I can hold it up too.
September 2nd.
Hold it up better.
I don't have a map scanner in the clerk's office, or I could zip it through. I don't know where it is.
I sent the email. I'm not sure why it didn't
My
go through.
Zoom's no good.
Could I share my screen?
Yes, you can. But Kyle, that was good, Kyle. That was, yeah, go ahead. Please do, Adam. That was a good.
Matt at LTV, I'll have to give him permission.
What?
Matt at LTV, I believe.
I already have.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
There.
Thank you.
So that is a far cry from that wall they first presented to us. So if you just go one more step and make it a little shorter, it would just make such a difference.
Right, now that we all see this, and what I'd like to do, Kyle, can you find my photograph that I had sent to Nora last night?
Yeah, I don't believe we can share two screens at once.
Yeah, so Adam, can you take that down, please? Thank you.
Okay.
So on the survey, as well as in conversation, Adam said that this is 50 feet from the roadway.
Yeah.
Is it from the beginning of the edge of the pavement, or is it from the 50 feet from inside the apron?
The pavement. I mentioned
the road edge. Yeah.
Well, there's actually, it's going to be further than 50 feet from the road edge because there's about a 20-foot buffer, which is town property. Then his property starts, and then there's a 50-foot scenic easement that we have to be behind as well. So probably roughly 70 feet.
Okay.
Closer.
And where the porta-johns are, which are in front of that, it looks like a maple tree. How far back is that?
Oh, it's closer to that red car, the first car you see.
And the building to the left is a garage, or is that a residence?
A residence.
It's a residence.
There are two residents, one behind another, Betsy, that share a driveway.
So if we were able to have somebody sit in that car and drive it across that driveway, that would give us an idea where this gate's going to go. It's not really way far back. There's some of these gates that you see when you drive or you're walking down Bluff Road. The road goes all the way in the back and you can't even see their gates in the back. This is going to present. So I would like to suggest that this be 5 feet, but I can pull the board for you, Adam, okay?
Okay.
So Diane, where are you on this?
Well, I would much prefer it if it looked beautiful and would be 5 feet, would be really make a difference.
Chip?
5 feet.
Jonathan?
I like 5 feet.
Okay. Adam?
Okay.
We could approve it today at 5 feet, or, you could, go through that whole, you go
Yeah.
zoning board of appeals and,
Okay. So if we agree to the 5 feet, I'd have to get my client's approval first. Do we resubmit and come back next week, or you're saying that you would be okay with that and we could proceed?
I think technically you'd have to come back so that we can make a motion. I can't make
Okay.
a motion on something today that you're not ready to approve, or you're not ready to, commit to. Okay.
Understood. Okay.
All right. Do you want to automatically be put on the agenda, or do you want to call in and ask to be put back on? Since we're not
You automatically, we can have that ready by next time.
asking you to submit anything new. All right, we'll do that as as a nice thing to do for you.
Thank you for your cooperation. It's really been nice.
I think they're going to like it better at 5 feet. I just think in this scale, it's just going to look much better. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're tabling this till next meeting. What did we say that was, Carl? 1014?
Correct.
Okay. Michael and Mary Lavin, tax map number 300-122-5-61 Soak Road in East Hampton. Matt, do we have anybody on the line? Maybe.
She was on before, yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you Margaret or Mary?
I'm Margaret.
Hi, Margaret.
My daughter.
Great.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Chip, if you can read into the record what this is for and tell us what's going on here.
This is a very complicated situation. It's an application to legitimize the 6-foot-high, 6-inch stockade fence on one side of a corner lot at the intersection of 3 Mile Harbor Road and Soak Road. And also they want to add more stockade fencing to this existing fence. The applicant is also requesting 2 sets of driveway gates on a somewhat semicircular drive. One set of gates has already been put in place, though they say it needs adjustment. The issue here is that this property faces on Sokide Road's Daymark's Deli. And if you'll recall, Daymark's Deli was reconstructed as a much bigger building than it ever was. And the entrance to the parking lot was moved from 3 Mile Harbor Road to across from the applicant's driveway. And it is a major parking lot. Workmen are in and out of there all day long getting lunch and breakfast. And this is sort of their issue. The length of this Sokide Road that's in question that they want to deal with is about 163 feet in length. I was there yesterday. The traffic in and out of Daymark's at lunchtime is just unbelievable. And that traffic is impinging on their ability to have this nice little residential house on the corner. The property is densely vegetated, and the 6-foot-high, 6-inch stockade fence that exists needs to come down to 6 feet. There's 6 inches between the bottom of the fence and the ground. They say it's for water drainage. I don't think that's required. It's in deep undergrowth, but the new stockade fence would be obvious from Sokide's Road. We have no drawings of the gate they want to build. They built one already, though it needs to be adjusted. It's a very solid gate, and it's quite colorful. The gates need to be, color needs to be selected for the gates, and they also need to be no higher than 6 feet. The same with the posts. They also need to open up the gate. It's a dense, solid facade. So it's a tricky situation. This was a quaint residential street, and through no fault of their own, it's become a commercial street because it accesses the Daymark Deli parking lot. Do you want this applicant want to say something?
Yes, I would love the opportunity to speak. So essentially, just to get back to exactly what you just said, you said that you don't believe that it's required to be a 6 foot 6 inches off the ground for water drainage.
No, we've never dealt with that.
I don't
before.
know. Have you been there since on a rainy day since the deli was elevated? Because the deli land was elevated significantly, and now all of the water drains from the parking lot down into the street. And there's one drainage hole that's right next to our property, and so it becomes a major flood zone both on our property and in the street. When it's raining.
Okay, I did not see that yesterday. I can understand how that would be possible having visited the site. Yes.
Yeah, and then also just for the color of the gates and the solidness of the gates, we want them to be solid because we've had our cars hit already while parked in our driveways. There's police records of it.
So this is their driveway looking across the street at the Daymark Deli parking lot and their driveway. Okay.
Yeah. So it lines up directly, and the large trucks that drop off deliveries at Daymark's, the industrial 18-wheeler trucks, come out of there, and they constantly hit that. We put up a little yellow line to try and protect our cars. But they hit that, and they drive all the way in to make the U-turn because they can't properly turn out onto 3 Mile Harbor or onto Sokide's Road from that parking lot because his exit is so narrow. So we need a solid gate so when a 18-wheeler truck inevitably taps into it, it doesn't just bend or mold. And we also wanted the blue because if you scroll down, it shows the photos. That's our second driveway, has the same issue. Then you can see in this third photo all the cars that are parked along the street. We have absolutely no privacy. There's also
there's no parking. Just a minute. There's no parking signs there now, so I didn't see any cars parked on the street yesterday.
Yeah, so there's no parking signs, but people will stay, especially in landscaping trucks. One person will run into the deli and they'll leave the truck running with another guy in it. And they'll sit there until, 20 minutes, 30 minutes until someone comes out with the lunch, and then they drive away. Also, a lot of people disregard it. We've been in touch with the the police often because it gets so crazy and hectic that we've asked them to come to give tickets on that street. Not because we want anyone to get tickets, but because it's really impeding on our way of life and just being able to reside and, be outside for a fresh breath of fresh air because you're breathing in
so Maggie,
fumes
let's go through all the photos. These are
Sorry,
your
I just have a
photos.
very long list of grievances, and I think fences that are 6 foot or even a little bit higher would be amazing because, like I said, with the floodwater, also because people toss stuff out, like glass bottles. I was actually hit with a container of hot soup last year while just like exiting my car into my driveway, which is insane. Like you would never imagine that.
Okay, let's go through the photographs. Just hold on a sec. Let's go through all of it.
Chip, I'd like her to be able to have her minute.
Okay.
I know David's listening to all this because David works with code enforcement. So Maggie, let's just finish with Maggie first.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I know it's long. I'm trying to speed it up. But basically, the worst part is that there's no privacy and security. The deli's hopping 24/7. They have a 24/7 ATM. So now there's this new sketchy element at night. There's people there coming to the ATM and then having a little party in the parking lot in the middle of the night. We've had to call the police several times. And also, I have a baby sister. She's 14. She just started East Hampton High School. And we'll be getting out of the car, bringing groceries into the house, and she's being catcalled by grown men that are driving by as they're leaving the deli. They'll whistle, they'll yell gross things at both of us, but it's especially scarring for her because she's only 14 years old. And it's just so gross and unacceptable, and you never imagine that to be happening here in East Hampton. And it's so upsetting. And if we had the security and privacy that 6 foot fences and 6 foot gates would give us, we wouldn't have to deal with being like on display like a zoo exhibit for anyone that's going to the deli. And that's really like what it comes down to is privacy, security, and going back to like a little bit of normalcy, like a normal way of life since the deli expanded so much. Like we really do need this.
Okay,
Please.
I think we got the we have the gravity of the situation. Let's just look at my photographs, which show some more of what. There's the gate that's existing.
Yeah, so that needs to be fixed. It's only been propped up. We got a stop work order on it. That's why it's all lopsided, and we didn't get to finish painting it, so it doesn't look like there's a bunch of bullet holes in it. It's going to be a solid blue, and hang properly.
And you got a stop work order. Why? Because you don't have ARB approval for a 6 foot gate on Soakide?
Yeah, so we're a corner property. So
They have 2 front yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's finish the rest of the photos so that the board can see what's really going on here.
I think that's the last one.
No, I took some photos yesterday.
You took some? Okay, cool.
So this is you're standing at the intersection of 3 Mile Harbor, and Daymarks is on the right, and their house is on the left, and the driveway gates are at where the vegetation recedes in the back. This is where their current stockade fence ends and where their first driveway comes in, and so that's right across from Daymarks Deli. I think there's one more. And that's the existing gate on the right where the car is. They want to put the other gate. So there would be these 2 gates in a semicircular sort of driveway situation. You really need the 2 sets of gates, Maggie?
Yes, because like I said, I didn't even mention this part. People will come and they'll park in our driveway and run across the street to the deli. And people don't realize that they're both driveways, and landscaping trucks will come and park in front of them and block. So you can't exit. Like if there was an emergency and I needed to drive someone to the hospital, I wouldn't be able to get out because they don't realize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is really a terrible situation where commercial development has really ruined this residential street. And I feel very strongly for the applicant because it was the switching of the building of Daymarks to the side street that caused this kind of situation.
It was as far as I'm concerned, I would be more upset if that was what happened to me. I was there for about 5 minutes today. I did a drive-by. I almost got slammed by somebody coming out, because what happens is, since they made it this two-way street, people go into that driveway, which is, again, right across from their driveway. And I can just imagine what's happening with those big trailers coming in and out. And I was passing your house on the left, heading towards Springy Banks, and somebody came out, didn't even stop to go make the left to go to 3 Mile Harbor. It's a freaking nightmare. Excuse my French. I know I shouldn't have said that, but it really is horrible. And also the amount of trash that is along the side of street from people throwing, you said bottles, but it looked like all kinds of paper and napkins and debris. I don't understand why, if I was not driving, I would have called the building department and said, the roadway department, and said, you need to get out here and get this road cleaned up. It's almost like the town approved this and then let the neighbors that live there have to deal with what they have.
Exactly. So let's just, I mean, this is a pretty obvious situation. So do you want to poll the board, Betsy, or see what they have to, what do others think about this?
Well, look, there's a way that with the contractor's, situation, that we can give her a little bit above 6, because, we can't approve above 6, but we have that little leeway.
Sure. So for the water, I mean, I didn't see
that for water to flow. I would recommend 2 things before we go into, polling the board and approving. David, if you wouldn't mind, if Maggie could call you and you can give her the numbers, that maybe she can call the highway department about getting that roadway cleaned. Call, again, maybe it's the highway department about the sewage being not enough because of the grade of the deli being raised and all the water's flowing down to their street and they're getting flooded out. And I have absolutely no problem her slapping a 6-foot stockade gate and 2 solid 6-foot stockade fencing and walls. That's my opinion. Jonathan, where are you on this?
Well, it's Sokide roads. It's always been wet my whole life. It used to flood. It probably still does. So there's a lot of water there, and this just new store just exacerbated it. I'm all for what she would like to have: 6-foot fences, 6-foot gates, all the way through there.
Solid and blue as you want them, Maggie.
Yeah,
thank you. You guys don't know how much this means to me. Thank you so much.
Diane, we're
really.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
Yeah. I like the blue. And I like the blue.
I sort of like the blue too, actually.
Yeah.
I think the blue looks good. Was the idea of painting it is so that they'll know it's a gate instead of a fence, or?
Yeah.
Maggie, if you want to call or email the town attorney's office, we'll be happy to try to, help you out with the things that Betsy mentioned. It's 324-8787 is our number. And my email address is dmcmaster@ehamptonny.gov.
Dean McMaster at
ehampton.gov.
Oh.
ehampton.ny. So there's 2 N's in a row.
Gotcha.
Right?
And David's really good. And David's really good with all this stuff because he knows all the departments and he works with code enforcement.
Thank you, Betsy.
Anything that we can help you. I feel so bad for your family. You have no idea what you guys are going through. I can't imagine that they allowed that driveway from that deli to be butting into your driveway. It just, the whole thing doesn't make any sense.
It was a surprise to me when it went in. Yeah.
It was a surprise to us too.
I'm sure the town did some kind of traffic study or whatnot, but
maybe not. You mean to say that they didn't notify you that this was going to be enlarged?
No, none. Actually, we've discussed it with our neighbors, and no one was notified.
That's
any meetings or anything. So it was very. All of a sudden, everything changed. I'm just glad we can put up the gates. Thank you so much.
Well, it
really appreciate it.
Kind of got pushed through ARB too, to be honest with you. The design of that building, So I'm not a fan. Okay, so Chip, if you want to move forward with an approval for the application as.
I make a motion that we approve the application as stated, approving the existing 6-foot-high, 6-inch stockade fence, allowing the applicant to add additional stockade fencing at the same height, and approving 2 sets of driveway gates at 6 foot high with 6 foot high posts.
Blue driveway gate.
Yes.
Oh, blue driveway gates, yes.
Really in blue. All right, great. Okay, so can I get a second, Diane?
Yes, second, for sure.
All in favor, Chip?
Yes.
John?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And Betsy, yes. All right, Maggie, thank you. So sorry about all this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Just to your
You were
family.
Mikey, you were very articulate in your cause.
Yes, terrific.
Thank you. Sorry it was so long.
Oh, it's all right. You deserve it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Good night. Charles.
Good night.
With tax map number 300-192-1-14.812 East Esterbrook Road, Winston. Chip, if you could read into the record. In the meantime, Matt, is there anybody on the line for this?
Not now, no. You're clear and Charles is in.
Okay.
Hi there.
Oh, Charles. Okay, great. Hi, Charles.
Hi.
Kyle, could you bring up the photo of the house I
Can
sent?
you read this into the record, what this is, please, Chip?
Yeah, but the photo would be helpful as I read it. Okay. So this is an application to erect a pair of driveway gates 5 feet 8 inches tall and 15 feet wide, sort of just beyond the Belgian block curbing. They would attach to 18-inch by 18-inch piers, 6 feet tall. All will be made out of wood painted white. This property is on the north side of Route 27, approximately 3 blocks in from the site of the old Swamp Restaurant. There's a quiet residential neighborhood, with Esterbrook being a cul-de-sac of about a dozen houses. This house is on the cul-de-sac itself. There are almost no gates on this street and very few gates in this neighborhood. There's no deer fencing or other fencing on the front of this property. Proposed gates per the design are almost solid, with narrow strips of spacing between the vertical boards. The drawing we have is not accurate, as it was drawn with the gates being 6 foot tall and being at grade level. That's impossible. There would need to be several inches between the gates and the grade for the gates to open properly. So the drawing is not accurate. I would urge applicant to consider a much lower gate and also reduce the width of the posts. I don't see any reason to approve this as stated.
Okay. Charles, do you want to say something before the board weighs in?
Well, I guess, I'm happy to take your feedback and advice on what to do. If the drawing wasn't accurate, that wasn't my intention, and I'm happy to make it more accurate. I guess for me, given that I don't know anything about this, if you could guide me on what is acceptable or what I should be thinking about, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, let me ask a question. Chip, is this house have a split rail fence on the front?
No, there's a holly hedge on the right, and there's a little holly hedge on the left.
Do you have like another photograph of the front, or is this the only one we have?
It's the only. I don't believe there's a fence there. Is there, Charles?
No, there's not.
It's just holly hedges on either side, Betsy.
There might have been a fence before we bought the house, but that would have been 8 years ago.
Okay, and you're not planning on putting any fencing, you just want this gate in the driveway?
Correct, yeah. The reason we wanted to do it is we wanted to enclose the front yard. We just welcomed our first baby girl, and so we thought it would be better to have the front yard be sort of enclosed, if that makes sense.
I don't know. So the how far back is this proposed gate from the roadway?
Well, it's
like 6 feet off of the.
It's sort of behind the Belgian block skirt.
That's about 6 feet, I think.
That sounds about right. Yes.
Yeah.
So the file marshal requires that you're at least 20 feet from the roadway. So what will happen is if an emergency vehicle needs to get in and you've got this big wall of structure, he's not going to be able to, pull in your driveway without having half of the trucks or more than that sticking out onto the street blocking, traffic. I know you're not on a a through street, which to me also then says, well, why do you feel you need to barricade yourself in when you don't have through traffic on that cul-de-sac? So I agree with Chip. I would be very reluctant to approve a gate in this neighborhood. I don't think there is any. Chip,
There's one gate on this road for a driveway gate, and there's a second gate across from him that's more of a gate for landscapers to go to a garden shed.
And how tall are these gates that are in the
They're the one across is tall. It's probably 6 feet. It's not something we approved.
Yeah, hey guys, the part of the, I guess the inspiration for the type of gate was we really liked our neighbor's gate that's 3 doors down. That looks like this. And so we figured that would make sense and sort of fit with the rest of the neighborhood if we were using a gate style that sort of resembled the one a few doors down.
Well, the problem is that gate a few doors down doesn't have ARB approval, and there goes the neighborhood. So you put up one and somebody else says, well, you know, Charles has one and the neighbor has one, and then all of a sudden you're all gated in. Deer are standing in front of out in the street in the cul-de-sac. They have no place to roam. And, you know, this doesn't look like East Hampton, right? It looks like something in LA. I'm very reluctant to approve a 6-foot gate in a neighborhood like this.
Charles, what you could do is, you have to put the gate 20 feet back off of the road because of the fire requirement, but you can put in a 4-foot gate if it's not keeping deer out. There's no difference between a 4-foot gate and a 6-foot gate. And then if a 4-foot gate, you would not need our approval.
You wouldn't have to go 20 feet back. You could put it just to make sure that it's inside your property line. You could put it closer to the road if it's 4 feet.
Well, for you, I mean, it's a very tight, I don't think it's a town approved cul-de-sac because a fire truck could not do a turn in this cul-de-sac. It's a very small cul-de-sac. Mm-hmm. So for UPS trucks and stuff in that cul-de-sac, I think you really need to put it further back because it's extremely tight back there.
And also too, with your young family, you need an ambulance in there. You know, you don't want people, being obstructed from, getting into your property. So you can do 4 feet inside your property line, take Chip's suggestion, to move it a little bit further back, and you don't need ARB approval. I think Diane and Jonathan, where are you on this?
I agree with Chip.
Me too.
Yeah, we're really reluctant to keep approving these very tall gates in East Hampton. It's starting to become a pandemic. And most of them, just to let you know, don't have our approval.
Got it. So the punchline is 4 feet is okay. Anything north of 4 feet is not okay.
Well, anything over 4 feet needs ARB approval. So if you'd like, since you applied for this application, we can table this. And if you want to come back to us with maybe a more open design, a little bit lower, a little bit higher than 4 feet, we'd be willing to entertain that. But we're not willing to approve what you've presented today.
Got it. And so and if I wanted to come back for approval, I mean, so more open and much further back into the property, 20 feet?
20 feet from the pavement,
From the pavement. Okay.
And it would really have to be in the 4-foot neighborhood, though. I mean, I don't think we'd ever approve anything above 5 feet, and I just don't think we would do that.
Right. And I'd like you to rethink those 18-inch pillars too. You want to like open this up, lighten it up, bring it down, make it more neighborly. And I'm going to tell you from an aesthetic standpoint, you're going to like it much better. We do this all the time and people are like, no, I need my 6 foot. And then when we, work with you and there's compromise, they end up thanking us and saying, I really like this gate. It looks so much more in harmony with my property. So you want to table it and maybe we'll see you back.
That sounds good. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Our next meeting is October 14th, and then the following one is 2 weeks after that.
Thank you, Betsy.
28th. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, extension of time. Andrew Tiani, tax map number 300-80-1-712 Parsons Close Lane. We're looking for Deborah. I see her on, but I need to do one thing real quick. So let's bring her in, Matt. Do one thing real quick. So let's bring her in. Hi, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry about that. I had to bring my dog in. He was outside making me nervous.
No problem. I just gave mine a bone, so he won't bother us.
Okay.
We all know that trick.
Yes.
Let me read into the record what this is for. So
Sure.
this was, and if I get some of the dates wrong, you can correct me or just let me keep going on. This came before us as I think it was a code violation. Oh, let me read it. Did I read into the record? David, I already did tax map number and all that? Okay, thank you. This is a iron gate that measures anywhere from 11 to 12 feet on the pillars, 11 feet on the gate. Kyle, if you can pull up any pictures that show the gate. And when this came before us back in February of 2017, it was agreed upon and a resolution was made that the Architecture Review Board required, in order to approve this, to relocate the pre-existing black metal driveway gate and flat stacked stone pillars to be removed back 24 feet from the edge of the pavement. The driveway gate and pillars are to be no greater than 6 feet in height, the gate opening to be 16 feet wide, and contain no lighting and urn structures located on top of the pillars and to be removed. So fast forward from February 2017, they have 3 years to come into compliance. That came and went. In February of this year, 2021, they were back on the agenda, and I think Deb tried to get in, but for some reason with the Zoom, so because you weren't here, we tabled it. Okay,
Yes.
That was February. It's now October, basically. So 7 months passed. We've been here waiting for you. You know,
Yes.
waiting. So now they're in front of us, asking us for an extension of time on this original 3-year resolution to come into compliance, and nothing has been done. But what seems to have been done is some more stuff that's been added since the time that the board had not approved. And when Esperanza went out to do the site inspection for that February 2021 meeting, what she discovered was to the left of this gate, there is 7-foot tall deer fencing facing the front of the roadway. The stone wall, Kyle, if you could go into my pictures that I submitted this afternoon, there is a very low, there's the house. It's a very beautifully landscaped home. And I understand that, you know, they like this very, you know, traditional sort of Versailles, you know, look, which is what the gates are all about. But it just is not code compliant. So There was some other pictures that I took today.
You took that picture?
All right, so here, that one right there, Kyle. So those were actually ones that we pulled because we were wanting to see what was else going on, so we had a better understanding of the property. So this is a low flat stone retaining wall, or I don't know if what's behind it, if it is retaining or if it's just a wall that is in the right of way. So we don't have the ability to approve this, and David could speak to that in a minute, but let me just get through this. In front of that or behind it is a 4-foot deer fencing, and then behind that 4-foot deer fencing is another 6 to 7 foot deer fencing in the back. And then Kyle, if you can go to the next one, there's some uplighting that runs all along this flat stone retaining wall. I'm going to call it that and then the next one is now there's a 7-foot black pedestrian gate also along 12 Parsons Close. So not only did they not comply within the 3-year period plus 7 months, they also enhanced the front facing property. So I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of any of this and what took place, not, because it seems to me they had more than enough time to work on this or to come back to us with other, requests, and nothing's happened. So, David, do you want to say anything before I move forward?
Yes, Betsy. At your request, I did email John Jelnicki, and you were copied on his response.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry, I was running a meeting.
Oh, I'm happy to read it to you, Betsy. And it speaks to the criteria that the board can use to deny extensions of times and new application. And it says, David, a few years ago, I looked at the question of whether you can deny review of a new application to someone who is in violation. I looked at this with regard to the zoning board. In general, a board cannot be punitive in reviewing an application, and refusing to process other applications that the owner is otherwise permitted to apply for would be punitive. If the board is aware of a violation, they should refer it to enforcement for them to pursue. However, a bit of an exception, we have a provision in the code for certification of violation, where if there is a violation, a notice has been provided to the property owner and it has been open for 90 days or more without being corrected, the building inspector can then certify the violation. And at that point, the only application that can proceed or be processed is an application that is necessary to correct the violation. All other applications would be on hold. However, that is the only time I am aware of that we could legitimately refuse to process an application. So in this case, an applicant is allowed up to 2 extensions of time under the town code, and the violation hasn't been certified. So that's
okay.
John's response.
So that is something that I was not aware of, that they, by code, they're allowed 2 extensions of time. Then why do they need to come and ask our approval of that if we don't have any say? It's almost like a 4-foot gate. Don't come to ARB if you can have 2 extensions of time.
We have to pay the fee.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, let me just say this. In reviewing this with staff yesterday in our preview meeting and speaking with, our secretary who's been, with the town for a very long time, she said to me that if we denied the extension of time, you would have to then fill out an application for a new application. So, it's 1/2 dozen of the other. My concern is if the board agrees to the second time extension, that it's just kicking the can down the road for another 18 months. They don't have to come into compliance. And then maybe 18 months from now, they sell it and somebody else has to deal with it. So I'm reluctant to do this.
I absolutely understand your concern. And if I could speak to that, I'd like to. We are currently in justice court with pending violations. And typically what we do in justice court, I was not the attorney on the 2017 application. So I had to take some time. Once I wasn't able to get into the virtual meeting, I heard your concerns. I went back, I reviewed the file. I had to FOIL request some of it. So we are in justice court, and my expectation of that process with Mr. McMaster will be that will remain on the court docket until we're in compliance. I don't expect that Mr. McMaster will let me out of justice court again this time until we're at the end of the process where I get the extension of time, I get my building permit renewed, my client does the work, and then we enter a conditional discharge to make sure that the property stays in compliance. That is my expectation of the process at this point. And I do think that the original approval from 2017 has some conditions on it that should hopefully alleviate your concerns as to the substance of what was approved in 2017. So we're obviously not looking to try and legalize the structures as they are. We're looking to bring them into compliance with the 2017 approval.
Well, the only thing that the 2017 resolution stated was about the gate. It didn't say anything about the wall. It didn't say anything about the pedestrian gate. It didn't say anything about the 7-foot and 6-foot deer fencing that's on the front-facing side of the property. So what are they planning to do? How are they going to bring this all into compliance?
So it in a way, it does reference those items. Fences, gates, and keypads shall not be located off premises or in the road right of way. Now, when I pulled the file, because I was concerned about this low level wall in the town right of way, I see in the file with the Architectural Review Board that that actually was considered by the board when you made the original approval. It's not expressly approved by the board because it doesn't require ARB approval. And the highway department did look at it at that time and submitted correspondence. I understand in my discussion with Mr. McMaster that doesn't per se legalize that low level wall, but I am not asking the Architectural Review Board to approve it.
Right. And I have no problem with any of this because that retaining wall, and I'm in agreement, and David, am I speaking correctly, that doesn't come under our purview? That retaining wall, because it's under 4 feet, regardless of where it's located. If it's not under.
That's correct. It's under 4 feet and it's in the town right of way. So we don't have jurisdiction over anything that's in the town right of way.
My concern is the uplights, and the big pedestrian gate, and, nothing's been done to move this. You drive up to that thing, it's shocking how big it is.
Right.
It's just.
I absolutely understand your concerns. I will.
If David is saying that the board can't even, vote no for the extension of time, then let David approve it.
Is the issue that this property is for sale and you need a C of O? Is that what the issue is?
To my knowledge, no, it's not for sale.
I'm seeing it's for sale when I look it up.
Oh, okay. I have not investigated for that purpose, and my client hasn't mentioned it to me. I just, really.
I just want to be very, very clear, Betsy.
What? If I want to be clear, if we give them the extension of time, right? And within the 18 months that they have to get this into compliance, they sell it in the next 12 months to a new owner who's going to inherit all of this. And then they're going to have a new application, and it's just going to keep kicking this thing down the road.
There's not a certificate of occupancy for the existing fence in the property, so they'd be unable to sell it because it's a defect on the title.
Yes, it would be very difficult.
Unless they wanted to get an exception for it and someone,
right.
Or the buyer pays all cash and they don't ask for a C of O, which I see more and more out here. But this is not for sale currently. It has been for sale recently.
Okay.
So let me just tell you, Betsy, I just, the approval from 2017 and what they're asking an extension for, it doesn't include anything that's in the town right of way. The town cannot approve anything that's in the right of way for private
I
property.
understand that, David. I'm not.
I know. This is not necessarily for you. This is for people that might be watching and that are interested in this application. That they're only seeking to construct or legalize what was approved in 2017.
Okay. However, in the meantime, new structures have gone up that are not to code. So I'm reluctant.
And again, that goes back to the letter that John Jelnicki sent that says that those are other violations and that those can be referred to code enforcement.
And Mr. Tajani will continue in justice court and would not be able to get a certificate of occupancy with those violations. So I do feel like the process provides that safety net. And I do feel that actually issuing the extension of time will help me expedite the process to bring the property into compliance. I can't even get the building permit renewed until I have, the renewal of this extension.
Well, but here's the thing. If it is in our code that you are entitled to 2 extensions of time, then why are we even talking about this? Then it shouldn't come to ARB. If we're not going to, if the other things go to code enforcement, I'm not approving this for extension of time. You can give her the extension of time based on the code. I'm not doing
it. Why is this thing in justice court? I didn't understand that part.
Because the applicant did admittedly fail to, make these improvements according to the 2017 approval, and they are existing violations. It is too high and it doesn't have ARB.
So the town has taken them to court.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, Betsy, I'm not in favor of approving any of this. It's crazy.
It is. It's if like I said, David, if you guys want to give the extension of time because it's in the code, it is nothing.
I can't give an extension of time on my own. I'm not the ARB. I can only advise you what, but the town
But
attorney.
then what? But if our hands are tied, why do we even have to vote on it? It's like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm really sorry. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not going to approve something that doesn't make sense to me. I've been forced into stuff like this over the years, and I'm not doing it.
Betsy, we have to vote on it.
So let me poll the board.
I don't think that's an adequate basis to deny it. I'm sorry.
Jonathan, well, I'm telling you, that's what it is. And I'm sorry. I think this is wrong. And I agree that this should have been taken care of. It's on the onus of the applicant. And I don't want to feel forced into approving something that I disagree.
The board has already approved it.
Right.
In 2017.
The extension.
Right. So we're not seeking, again, I just want to emphasize, we're not seeking to have the property look the way it is. We're seeking to get this.
Deborah, I've been doing this for 7 years. I know what you're doing. You're looking for another extension of time for 18 months in order to come into compliance.
Right.
And I refuse to grant it. I think that we should deny it if the board decides to do that and I'm outvoted. And then if that happens, then you've got to submit a new application and get everything into compliance on that application. That would be the pedestrian gate, that would be the fencing, and that would be the uplighting. Even though I think uplighting doesn't come under our purview, that would be building department. So I'm going to poll the board. Jonathan, would you approve this extension of time based on this conversation?
If the alternative was that they just have to make everything right immediately, I think that they should do
They have
that.
18 months to do it. So that
Well,
would be basically close to 5 years that they've been messing with this and did nothing except add.
I think it's a yes or no, Jonathan. It's a yes or no.
All right. No at the moment, yeah.
Diane?
No, it's too confusing. No.
Sure. I twirl my hair when I get nervous.
Me too.
Oh, Betsy, I'm a no, so
So we can table this, David, and you guys can,
Well, frankly, that's not tabled. That's just denying the application. So now I'll have to, in justice court, explain that.
We're denying the extension of time, and
I'm sorry, Deborah. I don't understand the basis that they denied it. So.
Sure. Frankly, it feels punitive. So I'm not sure if that's even allowed. But
then I have no say in the matter. Why am I going to vote yes for something I don't have any say in the matter? You're basically putting the gun.
Why does it have been before us?
It shouldn't. No, they should have. You should have gone into the building department and got your extension.
We applied for our building permit, and we can't receive our building permit
Well, then you should have
renewal.
got it into compliance.
I understand that. I became the attorney on this the first time I made my application to you. So I'm trying to remedy the situation.
I refuse for myself personally to approve this.
Sure. I understand. And I apologize that my puppy is clearly unhappy as well.
So I'm sorry, David. I know that you're frustrated with me, but I'm just not.
You're not basing your decision on the code, so I'm expecting an Article 78, and that's fine, Betsy.
I don't feel that they should even be before us.
Exactly.
David, make your code clear in 2 sentences.
I don't write the town code.
Well, you interpret it though.
No, John Jelnicki the building inspector interprets the code. John Jelnicki interpreted this at Betsy's request. He gave her the answer, and you guys are still saying no. So this is totally on you. This is against the advice of the council. That's fine.
So my recommendation is I would like to table this extension of time until I could feel more understanding of the fact that I'm to approve something that is already in the code. That means like you're asking me to approve a 4-foot gate. We never.
You've already approved it.
And this is a different issue.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
You know what?
Let's wrap this
I'm not repeating myself one more time. We can either table it or deny it. It's up to you.
I would be fine with tabling it because I think that would be an expedited process if you do so choose to change your mind, which obviously I would encourage you to to do.
Or maybe there would be another stipulation that they could come up with where the board would not feel like our hands are tied. And asking us to do something that we're not in agreement to do. And if it's in the code, then you should have the right to that code. And you should get that automatically.
Yeah.
So you want us to table it so I can change the town code?
Let it come from the town board.
You know, I don't know what level of comfort I can give you. It sounds like a discussion with council, but, you know, so whatever, I'll defer to Mr. McMaster as to whether he prefers to table or have a denial, but in any event, we'll, you know, be before you again and trying to remedy the situation.
Or like I said, you could appeal to the town board because it's their code.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Tabled. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. For certificate of occupancy, tax map, Theodore, is it Freund? How do you say that?
Freund, maybe?
Friend.
I would know this. How do you pronounce the owner of the market up near you? One stop.
Freund. That's Freund.
Oh. Jesus. I think it's front.
Tax map number 300-119-5-6291 Springs Fireplace Road, East Hampton, New York. Diane.
Yes, this resolution calls for the replacement of a wooden retaining wall.
It's the wall.
With a tan stained concrete retaining wall as depicted in the photo. And I took 3 photos. It looks 1,000 times better.
It does.
It's so neat and clean. They've landscaped. It's a huge improvement. So unless anybody has any questions, I would make a motion to approve this application for a certificate of occupancy and to instruct the staff to notify the building department that it is ready for a C of O. And congratulations, it looks much better.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Can I get a second on that, Chip?
Second.
All in favor, Jonathan?
Yes.
And Betsy, aye. I'd like to thank everybody for all your hard work in the meeting, David, Matt, and the board, and I'd like to make a motion to close this meeting. Can I get a second on that, Diane?
Yeah.
All in favor, Chip, Jonathan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Good night.
Kyle.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.